After covering loads of Super Mario Bros. Wonder myths, it's finally time to move on to something else. But before we do that, we have to finish with a bang. And so today we will look at all the myths I have covered, and I added another 15 to make it an even 180. We will be looking at all kinds of things. For example, does Shadow Mario see you when you're invisible? What can a Gnasher eat? And do Hoppy Cats jump when you're invisible? Well, let's find out. Now, in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Nintendo added a bunch of new things we had never seen before in the games. Just look at a lot of the enemies, Mario's animations, the power-ups, and even the new mechanic known as the Wonder Seed, a special item that can be found in levels that has a weird effect on the world. It seems to bend reality and will shape it in strange ways. For example, by transforming Mario into a completely new being, or altering the world drastically. But when I was playing the game, I wondered, what happens if a Wonder Seed is active and you finish the level? Can you even do that? Well, I tried it. And when I jumped towards the pole, I was able to finish the level, and everything went back to normal. But, as expected, I didn't get the Wonder Seed. So yeah, you can end the level when the world is literally upside down. In the older 2D games, Nintendo loved to add all kinds of small secrets in levels, as well as alternative routes. We saw this a lot in Super Mario World. That game is probably king when it comes to this. But now in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, this stuff is returning, as there are loads of different routes in levels, and secrets can be found everywhere, even in the overworld. But I saw someone claim that there's actually a small Easter egg below the flagpole in the level Bull Rush coming through. But can you really find something there? Well, I went into the level and decided to have a look. And while you can't really look under the first flagpole, you can do this with the second one in the level. And here you will find this flower, which is a bit hidden. But sadly enough, that's kind of it. I know, disappointing, but it is what it is. However, this does show that it's real. One thing I love about this new Mario game is the amount of new enemies they added. Almost all of them are new, which is nuts. We haven't seen that in a 2D Super Mario title in ages. So it's cool to see that Nintendo is experimenting again. However, one enemy that I found especially cool is the Bluebird, a small bird-like enemy that shoots their beaks at the player, which extend into a platform upon hitting a solid surface. Now, while this is a cool effect that's incredibly useful when platforming, I was curious if they could pop bubbles when they shoot one at them. I mean, it's a sharp and pointy beak, so maybe the bubble will burst upon impact. So I tried it, and to my surprise, it does nothing. The bubble will reach the Bluebird and gets rid of it, which is a good thing for us players, but in my opinion, this is a missed opportunity. It would have been cool if it actually popped. With the game being out, a lot of rumors have popped up about things you can supposedly find in the game. And so I came across a claim on the internet that you can actually find Captain Toad, the most brave adventurer in the world of Super Mario, who has been seen in loads of other titles. Heck, we have even seen him in outer space during the Super Mario Galaxy games. But is he in this game? Well, I decided to look for him, first in the levels seen in the game, but after going through a lot of them, I couldn't really find him. So I started to question if he was in the game. But before I gave up, I also had to look around in the overworld. And so I searched high and low, and at some point I finally found a hidden pipe that led me to Captain Toad, who was actually a bit lost. But still, he was kind enough to help me by giving me some flower coins. A good amount, actually. And it seems like you can find him in multiple places in the overworld. But I won't tell you where, because that's for you to figure out. However, now we at least know that he is really in the game. Now, aside from the Captain of Toads, there are also other secrets you can find in the game. I saw one online that is small, but still handy in a pinch. Apparently, you can find a 1-up in the level Swamp Pipe Crawl. It's right here, in the background of the level, but you need to make your way up here to get it. And when I tried this, I actually found a hidden block with a 1-up inside of it, which is super handy. So yeah, there is really something there, and I bet it isn't the only one you can find in the game. By far. Now, I already tested a myth involving the bluebirds, but I got another little thing that I want to try. It was clear that the bubbles were fine, and couldn't be popped by the sharp beaks of this enemy. But in the game, there's also another thing that could be pierced. The balloon that shows up when you grab a power-up that you saved for later. So, can these be destroyed by the pointy beaks? And would this result in the power-up escaping, or even disappearing completely? Well, I had no idea, so I tried it, and I found this bluebird who was exactly at the right height. But as you can clearly see, the balloon didn't pop at all. So this doesn't work either, which is odd. I expected this sort of bubble to at least work, but nope. Apparently Nintendo didn't think about this, even though it makes a lot of sense. Now, of course, there are many other enemies with weird powers, and another I want to look at is the Mama, a tadpole-like enemy that chases and eats everything and anything in its path, even other enemies, like Goombas. And after chasing something for a bit, it becomes exhausted and stops, and then they have a really silly face that I actually like a lot. But the thing I was wondering about is, can a Mama eat another Mama? Or is this impossible? Well, I tested it. I found 2 of them and jumped in between. Due to this, they ran towards each other with their mouth open. But I found out that they can't really eat each other, even when one has its mouth wide open while the other doesn't. So yeah, sadly enough, this doesn't work no matter what you do. But hey, they can eat basically any other enemy in the game. Now, while this 2D Mario game is filled with new things we have never seen before, there are also some things that return from older titles. One of those things is the flagpole, the classic end goal for any 2D level, as seen in so many other Super Mario games. But every time a new one comes out, people always wonder about the same thing. Can you jump over it? Well, I decided to give it a go, and here you can see that I was able to get well above it. But then, something odd happened. There was some sort of invisible wall that stopped me from going past it, and so I touched the pole and finished the level. So I clearly couldn't go over it, which was a bit disappointing. But I bet they added this so you couldn't break the game, because I imagine that skipping the flag could lead to trouble. Although there is one level where you can skip it, as it's part of the level due to a wonder seed. So in some cases, you can get past the flagpole, but still in most cases, it isn't possible. One thing that never made much sense is the hats that are seen when you use the parachute badge, because some characters don't have a hat that they can use for this, like Toad, but still they pull one out of nowhere. This confused a lot of players, and so they started asking questions, and someone in my comments asked me something interesting. Ducky Gamer said, when Mario or Luigi uses this badge, they use their own hats even when in a different form. But what will happen when they are in their drill mushroom form? They don't wear their normal hat after all. Well, I got the power up and equipped the badge to give it a shot. And just like Toad, they suddenly have a hat and use it. Sadly enough, he doesn't use the drill itself. That would have been a fun look, but no. One new feature in this game that I absolutely adore is the badge system. Little perks that give you a new ability or improve an existing one. They can be used in so many different ways, it's nuts. And at times they even make new routes or approaches in a level possible, which is just sick. And one of my favorites is the grappling vine, which basically gives you some sort of hook shot like the one seen in The Legend of Zelda. With it, you can grab onto any wall, and so you can do completely new things in a level that were never possible. However, one thing I wanted to try with this badge is hitting an enemy with it. Will this work or not? Well, I fired this vine at enemies a good amount of times, but each time it just went through them. So by the looks of it, this isn't possible, even though it would have been fun if you could deal damage this way, or push them away a bit. However, I assume they didn't do this because it would make the power-ups less useful and the badge a bit too overpowered compared to all the others. So I get why this isn't possible. One thing that I love to see in Super Mario Bros. Wonder was the interesting stuff that Nintendo did with level backgrounds. In many instances, they are a part of the level, or you can see all kinds of fun stuff happening in the background. But I saw someone online claim that you can even see the Mushroom Kingdom in the background of the very first level. But is this really the case? Well, I went to Welcome to the Flower Kingdom and had a look, and it seems like it's true. On the left here, you can see a place that looks like the Mushroom Kingdom, which with the classic hills and mushrooms, similar to what we saw in the Super Mario movie. So yeah, this is a thing, and it seems like the two kingdoms are indeed very close to each other. Now, the elephant power-up gives you a number of new abilities, and one that I found surprising is the spraying of water using your trunk. Sure, it's something elephants do in real life as well, but I never expected Nintendo to use that. And while this can be used to breathe new life into dying flowers, you can also spray water on the ground, and if you do this, you will actually get coins. But I was wondering, how long can you do this? Can you farm hundreds of coins doing this, or does it end at some point? Well, I gave it a shot, and while I was able to get a surprising amount of coins from this, around 45, I couldn't get any more than that. So it isn't enough to farm a 1-up, which requires 100 coins in total. But I guess if you have 60 coins, you can top it up so you will get a 1-up, but sadly enough, you can't really exploit this. One thing Nintendo improved a lot in this game is the small details, things that were ignored in the new Super Mario Bros. Titles. I mean, you can clearly see that Mario is a lot more expressive, and stuff like power-ups have fun little animations now. However, one other thing they added apparently is a biting animation for the Goombas when they attack you, and people said this wasn't a thing in the older games. Nintendo always had in mind that they dealt damage by biting, but they never animated it. However, now it's apparently a thing in the game, so I decided to check it out. And yeah, they do bite now. And if you look at the older games, even something as recent as Super Mario Maker 2, you can see that they don't actually bite you. They just bump into you. So it's good to see this improvement, even though it's a small thing. One badge that is great is the parachute cap, which allows you to use your cap to slowly glide down. But for this, you need 2 hands. I mean, you need to hold the hat after all. So what happens if you have an item? Can you still use the parachute cap this way? Well, yes, you can actually still use it even when you're holding something like a shell. Mario or any other character actually puts the item between their feet, and so they can use their hands to hold on to the cap, which is a fun little detail, and it's good to see that you can still use this ability regardless of what you're holding. Each time I go into a new level, I am excited to see all the new enemies I will encounter. Because if there's one thing that Nintendo does well in Mario games, it's enemy design. And one new foe that I found fascinating is the hoppos, which are basically hippos that you can use as some sort of trampoline. And Nintendo uses them in multiple levels in amazing ways. Sometimes to improve platforming, and other times to create absolute chaos. But when I saw this creature and what it does, I wondered if too much pressure was applied, would it pop like a balloon? For example, by ground pounding on it while being Elephant Mario. Will this break the enemy? Well, I tried it, and sadly enough, nothing happens. You can't pop a hoppo like a balloon, which is disappointing. And yeah, I know all of this sounds a bit morbid, but what can I say? I'm a curious man. Usually, enemies in this game will try to actually kill you by hitting you, throwing something at you, or just biting you. But some have another strategy of annoying Mario, and one that has a unique approach is the shover. They slowly push objects such as pipes and boxes forward, and if Mario's in the way, he could get crushed. Now, I had seen that when you're in your elephant form, you can easily win this push battle, which makes sense, you're massive after all. But then I wondered, what happens if you're small Mario? Are you still strong enough to win this? Well, I tested it. I tried it in multiple different forms, and when I was small Mario, I could quickly see that I wasn't strong enough. Mario clearly struggled when I pushed back, and if you don't watch out, it could end you. So yeah, in a scenario like this, you need a super mushroom, at least. As expected, Nintendo added a number of new power-ups to the game. It's almost mandatory for them after all. And one of those is the bubble flower. And what it does is quite simple. You can now shoot bubbles. But aside from these being super useful against enemies, who will panic like crazy as soon as they see these bubbles flying at them, these things can also be used as some sort of platforms. Because when you jump on them, they give you a bit of a boost. But this can only be done once because they pop. But according to this YouTube commentator, enter, you can basically fly with this power-up by running at full speed. All you need to do is run, blow a bubble, jump on said bubble, and then blow another one right before bouncing. But does this really work? And is there any limit to it at all? Well, I gave it a shot to find out. Now, as you can see, this does work, and it can even be used to break certain levels, just like the badges can. But there is a limit to it all. At the top of levels, there's some sort of invisible wall that will stop you. So yeah, you don't turn into a god or anything, but you can use it to almost fly. So really, it can break a lot of levels, but it does require some practice to pull off well. But this does show that the claim is real. One thing I found surprising after this new 2D title is that it's filled to the brim with new enemies, and a lot of these are unlike any we have seen before in the franchise, and the Shova is a good example. This enemy slowly pushes objects such as pipes and boxes forward with their large gloved hands, and in the game you end up in a lot of pushing battles, or you just kill them, that also works. Now in the previous video we also looked at these guys, and now we are going to test another thing, because the same commenter as before also said that you can't beat a Shova while holding a shell or anything else in your hands. But is this true? Well, I went into a Shova-filled level and gave it a shot, but as you can see here, things didn't go so well. Even though I am Elephant Mario, who would normally win this battle easily, I was unable to win this time. He clearly does his best, but couldn't claim victory. But once I got rid of the shell, I was able to win. So yeah, this claim is true, but I have no idea why Nintendo did this. It's a bit, odd. One thing Nintendo always puts a lot of energy in is the music of the games, and in Wonder we saw this as well. They added a bunch of new music, entire musical levels, little sound effects for almost any action, and so much more. And according to Christian from the comment section, the music changes when you obtain the elephant power-up. Apparently a cello is added to the music. But is this really in the game? Well, I went into the very first level and grabbed one to find out. And yeah, it's a thing. Just listen to this.
Whoa, Zowie! That Goomba looks so serene.
Now this clearly shows how much Nintendo cared about little details like this, and personally, I love it! And clearly, this claim is true. As mentioned before, Nintendo focused a lot on the sound design of this game, and animations as well, which I covered in my video about the game's cut content. And out of all the levels in the game, I would say that Knucklefest Bowser's Blazing Beats is a good example of this stuff. Music is key in this level, and without audio, it is almost impossible to finish. Well, that's at least what I noticed when I tried this. But we are going to talk about one little detail you can see in this level: the pose you strike during the Wonder segment. Because according to Lil Harm from the comment section, the pose you do is different depending on the number of players in the level. So I decided to test this, and after messing around in the game myself, as well as looking at footage online, I can see that this is a thing, sort of. If you look at the footage, you can see that characters pose based on their form. For example, the elephant has a different pose compared to the others who don't have a power-up. So it seems like the number of people don't matter as much, but the form you're in does. So I would say that this claim isn't really true. While this is a 2D game, it is clear that the team was also inspired by the 3D titles, and one of those was Super Mario Odyssey, which you can clearly see. There are multiple wonder effects after all that turn you into different enemies seen in the game, like the Wubba. But someone in my comment section said that even when you turn into this goopy monster, you can do classic Mario moves like the ground pound. And so I went into a level where this wonder effect is seen to test it out, and to my surprise, it really works, even though it doesn't really make sense why this creature can do a ground pound. In general, it looks a bit, odd. However, all of this does mean that it's real. No matter what form you're in, the main characters can do a ground pound. Nintendo had a lot of nutty ideas for this game, because they had to impress the 2D Mario crowd. I mean, most of them own games like Super Mario Maker, which gives them an infinite amount of 2D Mario fun. So yeah, this new title had to be very different compared to basically everything that came before. That's how we ended up with the wonder effects, but also the talking flower scene in the levels. Originally, they even wanted to add live commentary throughout all the levels, which I again covered in the cut content content video, but in the end we just got the flowers. And they talk constantly. But then I saw this person in the comment section mention the following: the flowers have secret dialogue if you stand next to them for too long. But is this really true? Well, I again booted up the game and stood next to one for a while to see if anything would happen. And to my surprise, they will ask you, "What's the matter? Are you tired or something?" after standing next to them for a bit. Now sure, this isn't the most meaningful dialogue, but it's something. And it shows that this person in the comments wasn't lying. Lives are important. Without them, you can lose progress, which can lead to frustration, as well as wasted time. And so, in each 2D title, fans try to get their hands on as many as they can, which usually leads to the community going on a hunt. A hunt for the best way to farm 1-ups. And of course, players claim to have found some in Super Mario Bros. Wonder as well. And we will look at one. In the comments, 12 Little Lou explained how to farm infinite lives in the level Condarts Away, using a specific spot and a Koopa Troopa shell. And so I went to this level and tried to pull this trick off to see if it's real. And I can already tell you, this works incredibly well. All you need to do is go past this checkpoint, take out this Condart enemy so it doesn't mess up the brick blocks below, and then you can set everything up. You need to get rid of some blocks and then you grab that shell and place it by throwing the thing up. At that point, you can just jump on it and then you will automatically, without really doing anything, farm infinite lives really fast. So yeah, this claim is true, and also worth its weight in gold. One of the best new features in the game has to be the badge system. These give you little power-ups that can be switched out whenever, a bit like perks from other games like Call of Duty. These will make some levels easier, allow you to explore different parts of the level, and can even be used for speedrunning. Heck, I have even seen people kind of break the game with these badges, and according to a viewer, the parachute cap can also do this. Well, sort of. This user said that you can keep your speed with the parachute cap if you keep opening and closing it. So I gave it a shot, and the badge challenge level is perfect for this. Now in the beginning, I didn't really see a difference. I was still losing height super fast. So does this even work? Well yeah, because when you compare it to the normal parachute cap glide, you can see I was losing height much faster and was slowing down rapidly as well. So yeah, spamming the parachute cap does do something, and it can even save you in some instances. But it isn't as good as I expected. Now this next claim is a fast one, and it's all about speed, so I will cover it really quickly. I think that's quite fitting. Boo Boo claimed that you can move faster underground if you have the Jet Run badge, so I did exactly that. Now I already knew it made you faster when running, but as you can see here, it has the same effect when you're underground. I was wicked fast, which is pretty cool. So yeah, this claim is actually true. Now this next one is quite simple and also a bit pointless for many, but still I wanted to cover it since it was mentioned in the comments, so I will keep it brief. This person asked me, if you are doing multiplayer, can you get Mario to use the fire or bubble flower while riding Yoshi? Well, I hadn't necessarily tried this, but I expected it to work. However, I still gave it a shot with every power-up to see what would happen. Now as you can see, the fire and bubble flower worked well, and I could use them like normal. Even the elephant power-up worked, even though Yoshi was clearly struggling with the weight. And the drill, well, that doesn't really work like intended now, but that makes sense. So yeah, you can still use everything without a problem. In all the Super Mario games, there are loads of little secrets and Easter eggs you can find, and especially Super Mario World was a fan of this. But of course, it's seen in Super Mario Bros. Wonder as well. Heck, Nintendo even focused on it more with this title. And one of my viewers mentioned a little secret in a level that I had seen as well, but never truly explored. So I had no idea if this person was telling the truth. Charlie said that in the level Rolling Ball Hall, just after the checkpoint, there's a hidden path left once you break 2 stone blocks, which can be done with the elephant power-up. And once you follow this alternate path, you will find some flowers who will tell you off for doing what you did. Now, I had seen these blocks before, but I never went that way, so I gave it a shot. Behind this block is a pit, and if you jump down, you will see flowers and metallic flower statues. Now, this place looks important, but we know nothing about it. However, this does show that the claim is true, but in the end, there's no cool reward down here. There's a small little detail you 100% missed in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and it's all about sound design. When playing the game, you sometimes have to pause it. I mean, you have to grab a drink at some point after all, and when you do so, you will hear this sound. Now, most of you will think it sounds fun, but that's kind of it. However, there is more to it. Because someone in my comment section said that this sound is the exact same as the pause sound from the first Super Mario Bros. And so I compared the two since I hadn't noticed this when playing the game for the first time. And it's true. Just listen. Personally, I love it that Nintendo added this little Easter egg to the game. One new enemy that I kind of love is the Out of My Way. It reminds me a lot of the bandit enemies from Yoshi's Island. They were also quite sneaky and could counterattack just like this new enemy, who kicks anything it comes into contact with, like ice blocks or Koopa Troopa shells. And so when you try to take them out by using a shell, you're in for a nasty surprise, because the thing will come back at you. The Out of My Way isn't that dumb, but I wondered if you could trick them by throwing the shell while their back is turned. So I tried it out. But as you can see, they aren't fooled at all, and will actually turn around fast enough and kick it back. Now I expected that this could work, but I was clearly mistaken. These buggers have some crazy reflexes. One thing that hasn't really changed about the 2D Super Mario games is the way they end. Back in 1985, when the first game came out, Nintendo added the classic flagpole as a way to end the level, together with a little building that Mario enters. And this was seen in basically every game. The only thing that kind of changed is that there is a toad sometimes as well. And in the new title, we once again see all of this. But now there's a poplin at the end instead of a toad. But did you know that there's actually a fun little Easter egg at the end of each level in Super Mario Bros. Wonder if you do one specific thing? It's a bit silly, but according to this commenter named Randy, it works. And all you need is the new elephant power-up together with some water. When going through the level, you will come across water sources that can be used to revive plants or just to farm some coins if you water the ground. But you can also keep this water in your trunk while going through the whole level, and if you do this, you will see something fun at the end. The water will be used to water the poplin at the flagpole, which makes its head flower open and creates a rainbow. But that's kind of it. As far as I know, you don't get any reward for it. This is nothing more than an Easter egg. Goombas are Bowser's standard foot soldiers. They are always first in line to destroy Mario and his friends, although they rarely succeed. But still, they are fearless. Well, that's what most people think, because in some games they will panic as soon as they see someone die. But according to Walpers, Goombas will do a similar thing in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. They will freak out and run in random directions when one of their brothers is taken out. However, I had never seen this in the game, so I was skeptical. But still, I attempted to do it. And as you can see here, nothing happens. Well, nothing is a bit of an overstatement. If you pay close attention, you can see that they freak out a bit when you kill one of their comrades. But they won't flee. So sure, they are shocked by it all, but what the commenter claimed isn't true. They might be scared, but they will hold their ground. Hoppos are weird. Just look at these things. They are like inflated hippos that act like trampolines in the game. But I will say they are surprisingly tough, which we learned in the last video as well. But now we are back to do some fun testing with them again. Because Mike Boss 1000 asked me if a hoppo will pop like a balloon if you ground pound on them using the new drill power-up, which is a good suggestion. Mario can drill through freaking rock with this, so what happens to a hoppo? Well, I gave it a shot, because I had no idea whether this would work at all. And after testing it, I can say, it does nothing. Sure, the hoppo doesn't like it, but he can handle it. Which shows that the skin of a hoppo is made out of something harder than rock, which is pretty nuts. So yeah, this claim is false. This enemy is clearly tougher than most of us expected. Now, a couple of games ago, Nintendo introduced the idea that you can save power-ups for later use, which is in my opinion an amazing addition to the games, especially now that they added the KO arenas in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. But now in the new title, for the first time as far as I know, these saved power-ups show up in balloons. And one of my viewers wondered after the last video if the enemy known as the Condart, which is a bird that flies at you with its pointy beak, can pop this power-up balloon, which could lead to the item being destroyed or something like that. So I tested it, but as you can see right here, nothing happened. The condart went through the balloon multiple times and it was fine. So clearly this doesn't work, but it was a good suggestion. Also, Waluigi Robotnik, thanks for commenting on so many videos and sticking around. I appreciate it. One thing that I like about this 2D title is the amount of new types of levels they added. For example, the KO arenas and Wiggler races. However, I wondered if you could actually slow Wiggler down during these races using any of the power-ups seen in the game. Or is he just invincible and doesn't care no matter what you do? Well, I decided to test it out. I went into one of the race levels without power-ups to try and hinder Wiggler, and I used all of them. But all I noticed is that he doesn't really care no matter what I do. Bubbles? Who cares? Ground pound? Yawn. So yeah, as far as I can see, Wiggler can't be slowed down. He will keep going and nothing is going to stop him. Now, water levels are seen in basically every Super Mario game, and of course also in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and I quite enjoyed these due to the new dolphin badge that makes you a lot faster and more agile underwater. But when I was playing through these levels, I was wondering, can Mario drown in the game? For example, in Super Mario Odyssey, if you stay underwater for too long, you will actually die, and in some other games, Mario doesn't care at all. So what happens in Wonder? Well, I tested this by leaving Mario underwater for a good amount of time, around 3 minutes. But nothing really happened. Mario didn't drown, so it seems like this isn't a thing at all. Which doesn't make sense, but hey, it's a Mario game. A lot of things don't make sense. When you first boot up the game and go through the introduction level, you will see that Nintendo spent a lot of time on the animations. I mean, the sleeping Goombas you see are a good example of that. We never saw anything like it in the new Super Mario Bros. Titles. Well, as far as I know. But when I saw them, I thought to myself, what does it take to wake them up? Sure, if you bump into them, they wake up, but is that the only way? Well, I did some testing. First, I ran around them for a bit to see if they would wake up, but no. So then, I just ground pounded right in front of them, and I expected that to work. But again, they didn't wake up. So I tried one last thing. I sprayed water on them using the elephant power-up, and this worked. It was a rude awakening after all. And so clearly it's hard to wake these Goombas up, and the only thing that does the trick is something physical, like bumping into them, popping their little bubble, or giving them a sudden cold shower. Really, they are deep sleepers. One fun new concept seen in this game is the ability to push pipes, which can unlock new routes in levels, and sometimes you also have to fight certain enemies who will try to stop you from pushing them into place. But I wondered if shells seen in levels like Swamp Pipe Crawl could push the shells as well, so I gave it a shot, and I could see that the smaller shells didn't really do anything, which makes sense in my opinion. When you're small without any type of power-up, you also can't win a pipe-pushing battle with a shover. But when you throw one of these giant shells, it will actually push the pipe away for a good bit, just like Elephant Mario could. So it's cool that this is possible, but in the end, it's quite useless in the grand scheme. When I was reading comments under different Super Mario Bros. Wonder videos to find new myths, I came across a claim that was quite interesting. And don't worry, I also took some myths from the comment section of the first myth-busting video, so some of you lovelies will be featured. But anyway, I saw someone claim that in the level Sproings in the Twilight Forest, the wonder effect of the stage, which is the stretching thing, is based on who crouches first. So if player 1 crouched first and then player 2 crouched, and player 2 stopped crouching, then the surroundings would follow player 1's crouch status. But is this in the game? Well, I decided to try this out by setting up 2 controllers myself, and as far as I could see, this statement is true. In the end, the wonder effect in this game is quite simple. The first one that ducks has all the control. Only if that player gets up will the level change again. It doesn't matter if it's player 1 or 2, and who actually picked up the wonder flower. So this claim is true. Now this next claim is small, but still a fun one to look at, and it's all about animations, which Nintendo expanded upon a lot in this game. Because I saw someone claim that you will get a special animation when you pick up a power-up while riding a Yoshi. And so I once again booted up the game, connected 2 controllers, and went into a KO arena. Now when I picked up a power-up, I did see a little animation involving Yoshi, which I had never seen before. So this claim is true, although it's certainly not the biggest discovery in the game, to say the least. One thing Nintendo clearly focused on with this game was making it fresh compared to all the 2D titles that came before. For example, by adding new concepts like the Wonder Effects, a lot more animations, and also new secrets. And I want to talk about one little thing I found on accident, which I first thought was an absolute myth. Did you know that there's actually a secret level in Super Mario Bros. Wonder that you unlock by dying? I know it sounds weird, but it's actually true, and I found out about this during my first playthrough of the game. When I was playing through some of the first levels, I actually ended up dying, and I had no lives left. So I got a game over. But when I got kicked out of the level, I saw that a new level was unlocked, known as Coins Galore. And when I entered it, I saw it's one big party where you get loads of normal and flower coins, and meanwhile a bunch of flowers will cheer you on. So yeah, it's not crucial for finishing the game, but it's cool to see that they added this little secret for the people who felt bad after getting a game over. The badge system in the new Super Mario title is amazing, and I really hope they will actually add it to future titles. But as you can imagine, people wondered what you can do with these perks. What are the limits? Well, one thing I wanted to test is whether the dolphin kick badge actually works when you're swimming through lava, which is a wonder effect seen in some levels. So I decided to give it a shot, and when I jumped into the lava and used the badge, I could see that it actually works. Without breaking a sweat, I could easily swim through the lava like it was normal water. So it works the exact same regardless of what you're swimming through. And I think that's really cool. I'm glad that Nintendo thought of this. When you go underground using the drill mushroom, you can avoid a lot of deadly attacks, and that's pretty useful. And so people started asking me if it could save you from some of the most dangerous things found in the game. For example, Dragon David asked me, if you're underground, can you survive acid or lava? Because in some levels there's an event where this stuff will start rising and you have to flee. So in order to test it, I went to the final Uncharted level and activated this bulb thing. And due to that, the toxic water started rising, and so I hid underground in an attempt to survive. But as soon as the acid reached me, I died. So yeah, hiding underground doesn't really work. The toxic water still kills, and the same would happen with lava, which means that this claim is false. When I first saw the new enemies in the game, I was stoked. I always love it when Nintendo comes up with new creative stuff. And after playing through the game, I wasn't disappointed. A lot of them are actually really cool. And one I especially like is the Shova. But they are quite tough. It takes multiple fireballs to kill them, and you even have to jump on them more than once. But then I wondered, would the bubble flower work any better? Because normally this power-up kills basically any enemy instantly. So I tried it to see if it would have any effect at all. And to my surprise, the Shova doesn't take damage and doesn't even react. For some reason, the bubble flower can't do anything to this enemy, which is a bit disappointing, but I guess that a power-up as strong as this one needs some sort of weak point. When the game came out, I was surprised to see that the drill mushroom made an appearance in the game. I mean, we saw an item that was similar known as the spin drill in Super Mario Galaxy 2, which was a 3D game. But now it's in a 2D title, and I love it. Nintendo did some really interesting things with it, like burrowing into the ceiling, which I never expected. But when I did stuff like this, I thought to myself, can I also burrow underwater with this thing? I mean, we already saw that Mario can stay underwater forever without a problem. So I tried it, and the KO arena known as Pedal Metal is perfect for this, because in the first arena you have changing water levels. But when I attempted to burrow, I could see that it doesn't work underwater. And even when I did it when the water had receded, I was forced to surface as soon as the water rose. So no matter what, this just doesn't work, which is a bit disappointing. When I was browsing the comments of one of my recent myth-busting videos, I saw a comment that was quite interesting. Ben the Cat said, can Elephant Mario ride a Yoshi that's riding a Yoshi that's riding a Yoshi? Now when I read this, I thought to myself, Yoshiception! And I also wasn't sure if this was possible at all. Sure, normal characters can ride on Yoshi, but can a Yoshi even ride another Yoshi? And is there a limit? Well, I had no clue, so I tried it. it. And yeah, a Yoshi can ride on a Yoshi, which looks a bit odd, but that's where it kind of ends. You can have a Yoshi on a Yoshi, but not a Yoshi on a Yoshi on a Yoshi. That doesn't work. And even when you try to jump on a Yoshi as a Yoshi with someone on your back, it doesn't work either. So yeah, sorry Ben, this claim is false. In the first myth-busting video, I looked at the mechanics of pipe pushing to see if a small character could win, but after I looked into this, Stefan asked me if there's a power-up that can push the exact same strength as the shova. So basically a level of power where there's a standstill between you and the shova, and so no one can win. And I had no idea if this was a thing, so I got a bunch of power-ups to do some rigorous testing, but I noticed something. If you're big or have a power-up, then you will always win the fight. You're just stronger than the shova, but when you're small, you will lose. So there isn't some in-between where it's a stalemate. So sadly enough, Stefan, what you asked me can't really happen in the game. I love the fact that the game is filled with little details, and I saw someone claim something interesting in the comments. Metro Blaster said, for the parachute cap, Peach and Daisy will actually hold the items or shells on top of their dress because it's more ladylike. So I decided to check this out. And yeah, as you can see right here, this claim is true. And personally, I had never noticed this. Alright, can the mama, this weird creature, eat the wonder flower seen in Super Mario Bros. Wonder? That's what X Game and Things asked me, and I get why. Normally, these enemies eat basically anything in sight, like Goombas and Koopa Troopa shells. So I decided to try this, even though I wasn't sure if I could pull this off. And so I went into the mama mouthful level to give it a shot. Now, when I found the wonder flower, I tried to lure a mama towards it, but no matter what I did, they didn't seem to follow me beyond a certain point. Each time they would reset, no matter what I did, it just wouldn't work. It seemed like the mama would never reach the wonder flower. But then, I found a loophole. Apparently, if you jump on a mama, it will reset. And using this, I could basically lure it anywhere I want to. And so I was able to get it all the way to the wonder flower. But then I saw that the mama can't interact with it at all. So nothing really happened. And I tried this multiple times. So yeah, X Game and Things, this isn't possible, but it was still an interesting problem to solve, I guess. The flagpoles are seen in basically all the levels in Super Mario Wonder, but can you burrow underneath them using the drill mushroom? Well, this is what Tom Draco asked me in the comments of one of my myth-busting videos. And so I got myself some drill mushrooms and experimented a bit. Here you can see I burrowed underground as Drill Peach, and I couldn't go underneath or past the flagpole. Again and again I did this, but clearly this wasn't gonna work, and Nintendo had thought of this. There must be some sort of invisible wall that stops you from getting past it unless you actually touch the flagpole, which triggers the whole end of level animation. Because when I tried going over it, I saw that that didn't work either. So clearly Nintendo is stopping us on purpose. And I mean, I get it. I bet it would break the game in a way. That's why you can never do it in any of the 2D Super Mario titles. In the last couple of videos, we've been trying to drill through all kinds of things to see if anything would happen. Sometimes it worked, and other times it didn't. And we are going to test another thing involving the drill mushroom. Because in some levels you can see these guys flying by, the blooms. They simply flow through the air in one direction, and you can jump on them. They act a bit like trampolines, but if you jump on them, they will lose air and shrink a little bit every time. And if a bloom is stomped on enough, or if it's jumped into from below, it will pop like a balloon. Now, someone in my comment section asked me, does the drill power-up pop a bloom? Well, I tried it. And yeah, as expected, the sharp drill will pierce the skin of this creature and instantly kills it, both when you jump up or ground pound down. So yeah, this claim is 100% true. Like I mentioned in previous videos, one of the oldest traditions for 2D Super Mario gamers is finding infinite one-up loopholes or tricks. Ways to farm as many as possible with the smallest amount of effort. And in the past, we already covered one of them. But today we are going to look at another. Channel Deluxe said that in the level Scram Skedaddlers, you can farm one-ups using a Skedaddler and the parachute cap badge. So I decided to try it, even though the explanation was a bit vague, and it took me a bit to figure out what to do. Now, when I finally understood what I had to do, I wasn't really able to pull it off, but I could see that some others, like Copycat, were able to do it. So yeah, this myth is true, but I will say, it is incredibly inefficient compared to others you have in the game. It requires a lot of effort, some skill, and a lot of time to farm a huge amount of lives, so I think it's not super useful. This next one isn't really a myth, more a fun little detail I wanted to cover, so I will keep it short. According to Parker Rutt, if you run across note blocks or ride rails, you can hear sound coming from the Joy-Cons. And when I went into a level and tested that, I quickly noticed that it's real. The Joy-Cons actually make sound, which is fun. Now, this isn't some grand myth, but still, it's interesting. One thing that I saw in Super Mario Bros. Wonder that I hope to see in future 2D titles is the detailed animations. Nintendo really did their best, and overall it looks great, a lot better than what we saw in older titles. And Buddy from the comment section claimed that the characters will panic if a Koopa is about to wake up in their hands or if a bomb is about to explode. So I booted up the game and decided to see this for myself. And as I already expected, it is a thing in the game. Look, you can see that Mario is incredibly worried because all of a sudden the Koopa is back in action and wants to come out of its shell. You can even see its eyes in the shell some sort of move. Now I bet Nintendo added this to telegraph to the player that the Koopa Troopa, or Babomb, is gonna pop out or explode, which is a nice little touch. And so this claim is true. When you play a lot of Nintendo games, you quickly notice that they are good at including all kinds of small details. Things that you normally don't notice, but they do make the game a whole lot better. And we see this in Wonder as well. In the past, we have talked about music in the game, and today we have another fun musical claim. Hudson said, "Did you know that if you stand still, the music changes compared to when you're moving?" Now, I hadn't noticed this during my playthrough, so I jumped into a level to find out if it's a thing. And I gotta say, it's real, but a bit difficult to notice. It seems like the music will calm down a bit when standing still, and it becomes more energetic when you start moving. Well, that's what I noticed at least. So yeah, this little claim is true, and it's cool to see that Nintendo puts so much effort into stuff like this, which most players will never notice. One of the things I love the most about this new 2D Super Mario game is all the wacky wonder effects. One moment you're just walking through a level, and then when you grab a flower, all of a sudden everything starts singing. Or you transform into something weird, like cake, which is pretty rad. However, someone in my comment section claimed that you can't take damage when you're in your Cake Mario form. But when I read this, I didn't believe this person at all. But I have to test it before I can draw any conclusions. So I grabbed the Wonder Flower, turned into a piece of cake, well, I think it's cake at least, and tried to take damage. During this section, all kinds of spike balls will roll towards you, and yeah, those don't deal any damage at all. So, are you invincible in this form? Well, not really. These balls can deal damage, sort of. When the balls fall on top of you, you will slowly shrink, and if it pushes you all the way down, you end up dying. So yeah, you can take damage, but not in a normal way. So this claim is plausible, I guess. It depends on your definition of damage. Now this next myth was a bit tricky to test. I wasn't really sure if I found the exact location that was mentioned. I mean, usually I get a slightly vague description of what I'm looking for, and then I need to figure out what to do. Which is fine, because I mean, all you lovelies can't upload some crazy detailed guide after all. Now this user said that in Piranha Plants on Parade, there's a flower on the roof you can jump to using the note blocks, and there's some secret dialogue. So I went into the level and started looking around, but I couldn't really find anything myself. Due to this, I decided to Google a bit, and again, I didn't really find what I was looking for. So I became even more confused. Sure, there is a secret exit in the level, also spoiler warnings, which you can access by jumping up here at these pipes, and I guess you could use these music blocks to pull it off. So maybe they were talking about this? If so, then yeah, it's true, but I'm not sure if this is it. There isn't really a flower flower with secret dialogue here, so yeah, I did my best. We all know that Bowser loves Peach. I mean, so many games are about that, and even the recent Super Mario movie. And apparently, there's also an Easter egg that highlights this in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Micah said that there's special dialogue in the final boss fight if you are playing as Peach, so I decided to check it out. And after going through the level and finally confronting Bowser, I saw that he did have special dialogue. He called Peach my beloved. But aside from that, nothing special really happened. I even fought and defeated him to see if anything would be different after the fight was over, but no. As far as I could see, the ending was basically the same, so the only difference seems to be this one line, which isn't much, but hey, it's something, and it means that this myth is true. It's cool to see that Nintendo is expanding upon the types of levels seen in 2D Mario games, and one that I like a lot is the Wiggler races. They really test your speed, reaction time, and platforming skills in a way that no other level does. Because you gotta beat Wiggler after all, and he is pretty fast. But according to one of my viewers, you will get help when you're too slow. Alberman said that in the Wiggler race, if you go too slow, the talking flowers will give you a star. Now, I had never noticed this, but I had also never lost a Wiggler race unless I died. So I tested this claim. When the race started, I decided to wait a while to give Wiggler a massive head start in the hopes of getting a star as soon as I tried to catch up. But I quickly found out that this just doesn't work. I didn't get a star from the flowers no matter what I did. So yeah, it's not a thing as far as I can see. So this claim is false. And I kind of get why. It would make it too easy and defeats the whole point of these levels. I mean, you could also use badges or characters like Yoshi to make it easier. One badge that I used a lot in the game is the safety bounce, which will save you once from falling into pits or other deadly hazards, and it will only reset if you touch the ground, otherwise you will die the second time around. But apparently there is some sort of cheat for this, because according to 12 Little Lou, you can reset this badge by jumping on the bubble created by the bubble flower power-up, so I gave it a shot. I mean, if it's true, it could be amazing for speedrunners and even normal players in the harder levels of the game. And when I tried it, I saw that it does work. As you can see here, I got saved by the badge, and after jumping on the bubble, it was again able to save me. And I just love that this works. So yeah, this claim is true. Nintendo really loves to add little details, which can be handy for the players, but other times it's just for fun. Now, for some reason, they added a lot of these things to the elephant power-up, and I kind of get why. You use it a lot, and it is certainly the poster child of this game. And according to Selena from the comment section, if you kick a shell upwards and keep doing this, the shell will eventually break. So I went into a level where you can find shells to try this out, and after some juggling, you can see that it isn't doing well. It's some sort of heating up, and at some point it broke, which rewards you with a bunch of coins. Now, it's not very useful because in the end, normal coins aren't super valuable, but still it's a lot of fun to do, and you could reach 100 coins for a 1-up due to it. So yeah, this is real, and to be honest, I love this kind of stuff, and I'm glad Nintendo adds these small things to basically all their Super Mario titles. Underwater levels are not my favorite. They usually slow you down a lot and the controls can be a bit awkward. However, in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, they found a solution for this by adding the dolphin badge, which I use all the time in these kinds of levels. But someone told me that a shell could also help. This viewer said that if you hold a shell in a water level, it works like it did in Super Mario Galaxy. Now in that game, grabbing a Koopa shell underwater gave you an immense speed boost. It acted as some sort of small diver propulsion vehicle, and those things look hella fun. And in the Galaxy games, this mechanic was super useful. So is it in Wonder as well? Well, I didn't know, so I checked it out. And as you can see here, this actually does work. It's not as powerful as in Galaxy as far as I can see, but still, it's really cool that this is even a thing, and I didn't know about this at all. These little buggers are cowards, and no one will convince me of anything else with their seed shooting and fleeing tactics. But apparently there's another little elephant Easter egg involving the skedaddlers, because this commenter said if you attack one of the seeds the squirrel shoots in the elephant form, then it will shoot an even faster seed. So I went into the first level where we can see these guys and checked it out, and I saw something interesting. Each time the seed goes faster and also becomes darker, until at one point they become some sort of supersonic, and after you deflect that one, it all goes back to normal. And sadly enough though, the reward for doing all of this is quite meager. Only a couple of coins. I wish the skedaddlers would have shot enough seeds for you to gain a 1-up, or that the last one explodes, but no, you get nada. Now this next myth wasn't suggested by a viewer, but it's actually something I'm curious about. The drill mushroom in the game allows you to destroy almost anything. Sure, not certain enemies, but anything made out of rock is easy. Like these crystals or the hard rock walls seen in a lot of the levels. So I was wondering, what happens if you try to drill through a thwomp? Well, I tried this to see if anything would happen. For example, will you drill through them? Or do they break? Who knows? Now when I attempted it, I noticed something weird. When you jump up and bump into them with your drill head, it doesn't really do anything, but you don't take damage either. So that doesn't work. So I tried to ground pound on it, but when I did this, I took damage while the thwomp was fine. It seems like you can't drill through them, which is a bit sad. It would have been cool if you could kill them this way, but no. Now Nintendo made sure with this game that it's filled with all kinds of secrets and Easter eggs, and even in the very first level we see stuff like this. But recently someone mentioned something that I had never heard of. This viewer said that in the first level you can find a secret if you have the exclamation mark badge and look for a secret propeller flower, because it will take you to a cloud platform which will then lead to a hidden sub-level. Now I had never seen or heard of this, and even when I did online research, I couldn't find much. So I wasn't sure if it was even real. So I started looking around, and at this block I was able to find the flower he was talking about. And it took me higher up. And here, if you don't hit these break blocks, you will find these exclamation mark blocks. And if you hit those, a vine will appear. When you climb it, you will end up in a sub-level known as a coin heaven, which is seen in some other areas and levels as well. Now your reward is just some coins, which isn't the best. But still, it's cool to see that this is in the game, and I had never seen or heard of it before. Some of the myths or claims I get in the comment section are quite simple and small, so they are easy to test, but I still want to cover them because I'm here to please all of you. I want the viewers of these videos, so you, to have a real voice and input into what happens next. So yeah, leave your suggestions down below. And this also means we will cover a small one really quick, because Parker Rutt said, can a Yoshi push a pipe with someone on his back? Well, I had never tried this, so I gave it a shot. Because sometimes things seem possible in this game, but they aren't. However, as you can see here, it works. Yoshi has no issue at all. So this claim is true. Now, when I first got the game, each time I encountered a Wonder Flower, I was excited to see what it would do. And to be honest, I was never disappointed. All of them are fun, weird, creative, and even a bit silly, which is just perfect for this kind of game. However, I still find out about new things every day. That's how much detail Nintendo added to this game. And Dylan claimed that in the level Beware of the Rifts, during the Wonder Effect, you can see the giant mushrooms in the background snap in half when you use the Mega Pow block. So I went into the level to see if this was true, and when I first hit the Pow, it didn't break. It only shaked around a bit. But if you hit the block a couple of times, you will see it crack and even break due to the force of the Mega Pow, which is a nice little detail. And this also means that Dylan was right. This claim is 100% real. This next one is another small claim that I found fascinating and also a bit odd, because I wasn't sure what this person meant. This commenter said that if Yoshi eats a bubble flower, then the bubble surrounding it will pop when he spits it out. Now, I wasn't sure what to expect here, but believe me, I was intrigued at this point. So I tried it. At first, I thought that eating the flower was even impossible, but as you can see here, I was wrong. And then, after laughing due to Yoshi's silly face here, because, I mean, look at this. I spit it out and I could see the bubble flower without the bubble. It looks similar to the normal fire flower, and I never knew that this was a thing. Sure, in the grand scheme it doesn't matter at all, but I guess it's interesting. When I first read the next claim we are going to cover, I was instantly hooked, because in many ways it made a lot of sense. Because this viewer says that Yoshi becomes slower if he has a character with the elephant power-up on his back. And I mean, when you look at Yoshi during this, you can see he is anything but happy and is struggling with the extra weight. However, is he any slower? Well, I went into the very first level and then ran a certain section up and down, both as Yoshi with just Mario on his back using a normal power-up that doesn't make him massive, and then another time where Mario is in his elephant form. Now I will admit, I was kinda surprised by the results, because by the looks of it, it doesn't really matter. Yoshi goes just as fast. Heck, in some instances, when I compared it frame by frame, it even seemed like Yoshi was faster with the extra weight on his back. So yeah, as far as I can see, this claim is false, even though every fiber of my being says that this is wrong. But I guess sometimes looks are deceiving, and Yoshi is clearly putting in the extra work. One thing that people always become obsessed with is farming 1-ups. Every 2D Super Mario game has a trick or exploit that allows you to get loads of them. And obviously, people are also experimenting with Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and we have already covered a couple of them so far. But today we will take a look at another, because APC27 said that if you are in the elephant form and crouch down next to a Pokey and destroy him with your trunk, you will get a 1-up. So I tried it, and I found out that doing this is pretty hard. I could see that it was possible, but it requires two things. Good timing, because as you can see, mine was off, and a Pokey that has enough segments. Now, if you have those two things, you can turn almost any Pokey into a 1-up, which can be a nice bonus in the levels they are seen in. So yeah, this claim is true. Sound is important. I mean, I'm not sure if y'all noticed, but here in the Wily videos, we have been working on sound design as well, adding little sound effects for transitions, and also during those special edits to make it more fun. So far, it seems like all of you enjoy it. Well, if I have to believe the audience retention graph, which shows how long all of you watch the video on average. And in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, sound design is also key, and in the past, we have looked into this as well. But today, we got something new, because Wolflord said that the background music is muffled when you are underground using the drill mushroom. So I got myself one and decided to try it out to see if this is even in the game. And yes, it is! Listen to this. You can hear the difference very well, and I love that Nintendo adds small things like this to their games, because sound design really is key, and so this claim is true. So far in this video, we've learned that the Super Mario games can be a bit misleading. Things are not always what they seem, and for our next claim we will look at something that seems to be impossible, but we might be wrong on this. Chris Day from the comment section asked me if it's possible to use a bubble from the bubble flower underwater. Well, who knows? Using basic logic, I would say it's impossible. The pressure of the water would pop the bubble instantly, or the bubble would just mix with the water and can't form at all. That's at least what would happen in the real world. But what happens in Super Mario Bros. Wonder? Well, I tested it, and when I tried it, I saw that it actually worked. I was even able to defeat a bunch of Cheep Cheeps using it. So yeah, in the world of Mario, physics and the laws of nature are very different, which means that this claim is true. So yeah. Now, in one of the other myth-busting videos, I tried to burrow underneath the flagpole seen in almost every level, which is a myth that I will have to revisit due to popular demand, and I will get to that in the future. However, today we are going to test if I can burrow underneath a pipe, because Leonard asked me if this was possible, so I had to try it. But when I did this, I saw that it wasn't possible. I even tried this with multiple different pipes, and no matter what I did, I couldn't make it work, even though a sideways pipe like this should work. So it seems like this claim is false. You can only go in one, but never underneath one. This badge, the Dolphin Kick, is sick. It makes water levels a lot of fun, but people in the comments have asked me if it can be used in other instances as well. For example, during that one wonder effect where you're able to swim through lava. But I already covered that in another myth-busting video. So today we will test something else. Because Doug asked me, does the Dolphin Kick badge work in the green goo, which is seen in levels like an uncharted area Waba Ruins? Well, who knows? So I dove right into this level to see if I could Dolphin Kick my way through this gross gelatin-like substance. And when I jumped into it, I tried my best to use the badge again and again, but it didn't work. I couldn't use this ability, most likely because you don't really swim through this stuff. You kind of wiggle through it. Now I'm not sure if this is the reason, but I bet it is. Otherwise you would also be able to Dolphin Kick on land. So yeah, this is impossible, which is a bit disappointing, I will admit. Now clearly the elephant power-up makes you one chunky person. You become incredibly heavy, as we have seen with Yoshi, who isn't too happy when you jump on his back. But this didn't slow him down, which doesn't make sense. So will this extra weight have an effect on anything seen in the game at all? Well, who knows? I guess we gotta test a bunch of stuff. And 12 Little Lou from the comment section claimed that the elephant power-up doesn't affect the speed of the puffy pink platforms either. They won't go down any faster. Now again, this doesn't make much sense in my opinion, so I decided to test it to see if this person was right. And to my surprise, he is. Just look at this. The platform goes down at the same speed no matter the form. So yeah, Elephant Mario is really heavy, clearly heavier than the normal characters, but this rarely has an effect in-game. Man oh man, sometimes Nintendo's game design is a bit weird. But hey, at least this claim is true. Now that we are here in the up and down puffy lifts level, we can verify another claim that somebody made. Clifford said that in this level, if you choose not to activate the Wonder Flower, then the talking flower ahead will whisper that you are forgetting something. So I went past the Wonder Flower and kept an eye out for talking flowers. And when I saw this one, he mentioned exactly what this commenter said. So yeah, they will give you a small hint. But then when I tried to go back, I noticed that I couldn't for some reason. No more Goombrats came out of the pipe. And so the platform that would lead to the Wonder Flower was in my way. I'm not sure if this always happens, but the game basically forced me to replay the level, which isn't a bad thing. Replayability is fun, but yeah, it's clear that this claim is true. In one of my other myth-busting videos, we tested whether you can end up in a stalemate with a shova during a pipe-pushing battle. And now we are back to do some more testing, because people in the comment section wanted me to do this. For example, this person said, you know, you could try to use Yoshi or Nabbit against the shova because they don't have a power-up, so maybe it will end up in a stalemate. And that's exactly what I did. First with Nabbit, and as you can see, he wins the duel, even though he has a bag in his hand. And as we have seen in previous experiments, this normally doesn't work, because when you hold a shell, you will lose. But what about Yoshi? Well, again, he wins. So by the looks of it, no matter who you pick, you can never end up in a stalemate with a shova. You either win or lose. One of my favorite little details in Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the credits, because it isn't like any of the others. It's playable and you can collect points by touching the names of the credits, but apparently if you do nothing, something will happen. This person said that if you don't move, then at some point the character will clap their hands and bop their head to the beat. So I beat the ever-living heck out of Bowser to get to the credits, and after waiting for a while, I saw that the claim is true. Mario actually stands there and fully enjoys the music, which is a nice little touch that I had never seen, and I love it. Now this next claim is simple and small, so I will be quick. Davis asked me if Nabbit can ride Yoshi. Well, that's what I think he means at least. But can you do this? Well, as you can see, you can. I mean, anyone can ride Yoshi, no matter which character you pick. Now we have come to one of the most exciting claims to test, because it requires us to do the impossible. In the older games, we sometimes came across levels where we had to race some sort of shadow or cosmic clone. A good example of this was seen in Super Mario Galaxy, and now this idea is back in Wonder. But this time it's tied to a Wonder effect, and the clone will actually copy your every movement. But as soon as you touch this evil version of yourself, you take damage. So you have to outrun it until you find the Wonder Seed. But then Jason asked me if there's a way around this, because he said, is it possible to defeat this clone yourself? Well, I went into a level where I knew I could find one to try and kill it by either jumping on it or using fireballs. And while jumping on it results in damage or just nothing happening, so I bombarded it with fireballs and each time it looked like it took damage, which encouraged me to continue. So I did this for 3 minutes and 20 seconds straight. And then, all of a sudden, the clone died, and it dropped a single coin. So you can kill it, but it seems like only fireballs will do the job, while any other physical attacks do nothing. And of course, it takes a long time, and there isn't really some grand reward for doing this, which is a bit sad, because it would have been cool if you got something more worthwhile for it. However, all of this at least shows that the claim is true. To start off this video, we will look at a small myth, a claim that is simple and fast to test, because Kogi asked me if you can do a backflip off Yoshi like you see in some other games. Well, who knows? Sure, it might be possible in a lot of 3D Super Mario titles, but is it also a thing in this game? Well, I tried it, and at first I thought it was impossible, until I did a spin jump and Mario did this. Now, is this a backflip? I'm not sure, even though I've done it many times for this video, but I guess it's close enough. So this claim is true. Reading through the comments of these myth-busting videos, I come across a lot of interesting questions. All of you are quite curious and want me to experiment a lot. And Newer Boomerang asked me, can you drill into the Wonder Dragon? Now I assumed that he was talking about the dragon seen in the final level of the game. So I went there and tried to drill right into him. But I couldn't do this. The skin of this beast is just way too strong. Normally this power-up can go through anything, but not this time. So yeah, this claim is false. Sometimes enemies will steal certain things from you, like power-ups, which can be quite annoying. But is there a way to prevent this? Well, Massness Arcade claimed that if an enemy eats something and you kill it, then you can get the item back. Now, as far as I know, this isn't a thing, but still I attempted to do it, and I used this mama for it. I allowed it to eat a shell, and then I killed it, in the hopes that the shell would reappear again. But that didn't happen. And when I think about it, this never worked with any other enemy either. As soon as they eat it, it's gone. Power-ups, coins, wonder flowers, everything. So yeah, this doesn't work. Now we got a Bull Rush claim to test, and this one is quite bold, because the man in your wall said that there's a secret at the end of Bull Rush Express, where you use the Wonder Flower and drop right before you arrive at the flagpole. You fall to the bottom, and there will be a talking flower which has special dialogue if you wait a bit. Now I was slightly confused when I read this, but I decided to give it a shot anyway, even though I wasn't 100% sure what I was supposed to do here. Now after looking around the level, I couldn't find much. If I jumped down at the last chasm, I would just die. And near the flagpole you can find a flower, but I wasn't sure if this is the one that he was talking about. Now right when I was about to give up, I tried to jump down into the chasm that's seen when you go to the secret exit of the level. But again, I just died. The only talking flower I could find is this one, but it doesn't have any special dialogue as far as I could see. So yeah, I think that this claim is false. Now this next one was also quite hard to test. Actually, I would even say impossible as far as I can see. Because LinkFan said, can an enemy go into the goop that's seen in the level Waba Ruins? Now, I had no idea if this was possible, so I went there to check it out. But then after going through the whole level, I noticed that there aren't really any enemies I could use. I mean, Wabas are there, and this new Thwomp variety, but that's kind of it. No Goombas or Koopa Troopas. So while I would love to test this claim, I just can't. So yeah, this one isn't false or true, it's just impossible. I can't imagine that Nintendo didn't think of this, and therefore didn't program it into the game. But in the end, we don't know. Now, if I did miss something, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. So far in these videos, we've experimented with a lot of sounds in the game, because Nintendo paid a lot of attention to that kind of stuff. And today we are going to check another audio-related claim, because Clifford said that in your elephant form you get a different sound if you hit enemies standing or crouching. So I went into a level to give it a shot. First I hit this Goomba like normal, standing upright, and then I did the same thing but while crouching down. And this time the sound when I hit him was very different. Here, just listen. There's clearly a massive difference, and as mentioned, this is a thing with Goombas, but not with Koopa Troopas, weirdly enough. So yeah, this little detail is true, and it shows how dedicated Nintendo can be when it comes to sound design. In one of the previous myth-busting videos, we talked about enemies that the Bubble Flower can't defeat. And so, as I already expected, people in the comments mentioned other enemies. For example, Scintilleon said that spiky enemies, the mummies in the desert levels, and the mamas are also completely immune. So I ventured into a bunch of levels to see if these foes are really as tough as this commenter claimed. Now, when I tried to kill a mama, he just ended up eating them. And even when its back is turned, it doesn't do a thing. Now, when you throw these bubbles at spiky enemies like these hoppy cats, it doesn't do anything no matter what I do. And when you bombard the mummies with them, they only fly back a little bit like the commenter mentioned. But that's kind of it. So yeah, the Bubble Flower is amazing, but clearly not perfect in every situation. Which means this claim is true. Sometimes I test stuff in videos and I come to the conclusion that the claim is false, but then the comment section shoots into action. A lot of people will say that I did something wrong, and sometimes they have a point, and I decide to give it another shot. And today we are going to retest the claim involving Wiggler, because Lolo said that the talking flower in the first Wiggler race actually gives you a star during the race if you fall behind. So I went there to see if this is really true, and after waiting for a bit so that Wiggler could run ahead, I started running. And then, to my surprise, the flowers gave me a star, which easily allowed me to gain up on Wiggler. But then I saw that I even got another star as the other one was running out. Now in the end I didn't grab that one, but still, all of this proved that the flowers will give you stars in some of the first races when you're losing. So yeah, this claim is true. Now theft is wrong, we all know that, but it seems like Nintendo loves to play with the concept. I mean, in a lot of their games there are enemies that will steal stuff from you, like the bird in Majora's Mask, or even Nabbit in the new Super Mario Bros. Titles. And in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, there's also an enemy that loves to steal stuff, especially coins, and it's known as the Rob Bird. But Bloody Foxy asked me, can a Rob Bird steal an item or an item balloon? Well, I had no idea, so I gave it a go. Now, when I tried to give them a shell, they couldn't grab it. Actually, they even died. So clearly that doesn't work. But what about the items in the balloons? Well, when I tried this, I could see that nothing happened. The enemies can't interact with it, like we've seen in some other myth-busting videos. So yeah, this claim is false. Now, for the people who pay attention to the comments that I show on screen, you could have seen what the next myth is, because Bloody Foxy also mentioned something else. Can Yoshi eat fireballs and lava bubbles and spit them out? Well, I went into some fire levels that had these enemies, and when I first tested the fireballs, I could see that Yoshi could eat them and shoot them at enemies. However, when I ate a lava bubble, I noticed that this was incredibly useful, because when you spit it out, you will shoot 3 fireballs, which is super handy when fighting enemies. So yeah, all of this is true. Nintendo clearly decided to add these concepts that were originally seen in Super Mario World. Now, we have already tested a claim involving Wiggler in this video, but still I wanted to test another, which was also requested by multiple people. But hey, first come, first serve. That's how it works, so if you have something that I need to try, leave it in the comments below. Anyway, this user said that if you go too slow, Wiggler will also slow down, and I have seen others call it rubber banding. But what is that? Well, rubber banding systems are designed to keep contestants close together, like wrapping an imaginary rubber band around them. So if you go past Wiggler, he will go faster, but if you fall behind, he will slow down. So is this this in the game? Well, I tried it. And if you look at this footage, you can clearly see that rubber banding is in the game, which is surprising. Nintendo used this a lot in the past in Mario Kart 64, and to an extent, they still use it today in Mario Kart games. But, as far as I know, not as heavily as we see here. So, it is a bit odd to see, but still, all of this shows that the claim is true. Wonder effects in the game come in many different forms, from transformations to crazy run-and-gun sections, and usually you have all the time in the world to go through a level. But someone said that this isn't always the case. Goomba said that wonder effects without a timer will suddenly have a time limit if you wait long enough. Now, I had never seen this, even though at times I would let my games run for ages while recording these videos. So I went into a level, grabbed the Wonder Flower there, and waited for a long time. To be specific, I waited almost 6 minutes, but nothing happened. And I mean, I gotta store all these files somewhere, so I stopped. As far as I can see, this isn't a thing. No timer will pop up if your character stands there for too long. So yeah, this claim is false. The next one is small, so we will be quick. Trevor wondered if Yoshi could eat a bubble that a player blows at him. And since this little dinosaur usually eats everything, can he also eat these? Well, when I tried it, I could see that the answer is yes. He eats them without a problem. Now sure, this isn't useful or anything, but I guess it's a nice little touch. Now for this one, we are once again gonna revisit a myth we have covered in the past, because according to many, I made a mistake. The original claim stated that you could get stuck in Shava Mansion if you position a block at the right spot and grab an elephant power-up. However, people like this person said that I was in the wrong location. So I tried it here, right before the flagpole. I destroyed these bricks, pushed this block in place to give myself as little space as possible, then I went in and I grabbed my elephant power-up. Now after doing so, I realized something. I was freaking stuck! It was so bad that I even had to exit the level. So yeah, while I first said that this claim was false, I was clearly wrong. You can get stuck in this level. But still, what I tested before was also interesting, because it showed that Nintendo does have mechanics in place to prevent this stuff from happening. However, they clearly weren't perfect. In one of the wonder effects in the game, we see something quite interesting. A group of bull rushers destroying a flagpole. It's seen in one of the wonder effects, but after seeing that, I wondered, can this happen without collecting a wonder flower? Well, I decided to test this, and I found this one bull rush that could do the job. And once I was in position, it ran right at my target, the flagpole. But as soon as it came into contact with it, the flagpole was fine and the bull rush was stunned like it ran into a wall or something. And after trying it again and again, I got the same result each time. So it doesn't work. Clearly, these mighty beasts can only destroy a flagpole under the right conditions, which means a specific Wonder Flower event. In previous videos, we have seen that the new elephant power-up is quite powerful. We have destroyed a lot of things with it after all. And for our final claim, we are going to try something new. Supersonic asked, can you launch a hippo with the elephant's trunk? This is seen with enemies like the Goombas that will literally fly across the map when you hit them. So I tried this with these inflated hippos. And when I tried this, I saw that I couldn't really launch them high up. Even when I used another hoppo to get it up, I couldn't get it any higher using my trunk. So yeah, this doesn't work. By the looks of it, the hoppo is just too heavy. And so you can't juggle it in the air like a shell or something. So yeah, sorry Supersonic, this claim is false. One of the strongest power-ups in the game has to be the Bubble Flower. In a lot of instances, it can defeat enemies in a second. However, some people in the comments also wondered if it could do more than just that. LinkFan asked me if items can go into the bubbles you shoot. Think of power-ups, coins, and other stuff like that. Well, I wasn't 100% sure, so I did some testing. And I noticed something interesting. The results were mixed. Now, whenever I killed an enemy that dropped a coin, it would go in the bubble. Most likely because the enemy was already inside of the bubble, and it dropped a coin. However, when I tried to do the same with just coins or power-ups, it doesn't work at all. They won't go inside the bubble. So yeah, on the other hand, this claim is true, but it's also kind of false. I'm a bit mixed on the whole situation, really. So I guess all of you in the comments have to decide what is what. Now for a quick myth. A claim that can be solved in a matter of seconds, but still it's a good suggestion. Gas said, when you crouch with the fire flower, you can still shoot fireballs, unlike in the new Super Mario Bros. Series. So I went into a level, got a fire flower, and tested this out. And as you can see, you can crouch and still throw fireballs, even though Mario is clearly doing so while not seeing a thing. But hey, it works! And while we are talking about simple and short myths, we will do another one, because PMK said, the coins in a level will dance if you touch the Wonder Flower. Even the purple 10 coin will dance. Now after reading this, I decided to see if it was really true, by going into the level and activating a Wonder event. And when I did, I saw literally everything dance. No matter the kind, all coins were dancing. But then I wondered, is this only in the first level or others as well? So I went into another one to test it again. And yeah, it seems like they will dance no matter which level you're in. So, this claim is true. In one of the previous videos, we did some experimenting with Shadow Mario. You know, this weird clone that shows up during some of the wonder effects. And today we are once again gonna mess with this strange being. Because George asked me, can you defeat him using the drill mushroom? For example, by going under him and then jumping up. Well, I went into a level where I know I could find him and tried this method to see if it would do anything. Because as far as I noticed, melee attacks don't do much. Now when I attempted this, I saw that it didn't work, so I tried it again, and this was just as unsuccessful. The shadow clone was fine while I lost my power up. So yeah, as far as I can see, this won't work. He is too powerful and any form of melee attack will end in pain, which means that this claim is false. Now, one other thing we've messed around with a lot is the elephant power-up, because it makes you so big and heavy. But so far, we've never seen that it actually matters in the game. Just look at all the other videos to find out why. So today, we are going to test another thing related to that, because Blue Cat Gamer said, can you jump on a bubble as Elephant Mario? Now, I expected this to work, but maybe the increased weight made it impossible, or it would have some sort of effect. So I went into an arena level and started experimenting like crazy. Now as you can see, I can jump on the bubble. It works like normal, but everyone knows that you will go really high into the sky if you jump on it and hold the jump button. So I tried that as well to see if anything was different. And as you can see, that clearly isn't the case. And that means that the claim is true, even though it doesn't really make sense. The mama is known for eating almost anything, but there's another enemy that does this as well, the Gnasher. In the level they are seen in, they will eat every block and any coin they come across. And a couple of people asked me in the comments, what can they eat? So I decided to test this. I tried to feed them a number of different things in the game, and the first one was a power-up. This bubble flower to be specific. And as you can see, yes, they will eat them. So I moved on to the next thing, the power-up balloon. And they couldn't eat those. So they can't eat everything. And so I moved on to the last item, the wonder flower. And after a lot of messing around, I succeeded. But nothing happened. He couldn't eat it at all. You can see that he tried, but nothing happened. So they can't eat wonder flowers. They can only eat them when they are inside of a block. In this game, we see goo. Stuff that is sticky, green, and a bit odd. But hey, Mario and the others have to save the world, so they just deal with it. But it is interesting stuff. And so many people have asked me to test certain things to see what is possible. And this next myth is another great example of this. Drago asked me, can you use fireballs and bubbles in the goo and around the goo? Well, who knows? So I went there to mess around with this Nickelodeon slime to see which offensive options we have. First, I tried the bubble, and here I could see that it works perfectly no matter what. It works while inside of the goo, and even outside of it. But then I moved over to the fireball, and I saw that it behaved differently. The fireballs can't enter the goo from the outside. As you can see, they just hit the stuff, and it's over. But if you're close enough, or inside of it, you can shoot fireballs, and they pass through completely. So yeah, you can't hit wobbos from the outside, but as soon as you throw the fireball inside of the goo, it's fine, which I found a bit odd, but at least this claim is true. You can use these power-ups in the goo. Now, we all know that Nintendo loves their music. It's an important thing in basically every Super Mario title, and in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, they took it a step further, because they added a bunch of Wonder Flower effects that involve music, including singing enemies like piranha plants. And according to Bacon Cookies, in Piranha Plants on Parade, if you kill the piranha plants, there's no more singing, only instrumentals. So I went into the level to see if this claim is true, and when I started killing off all these annoying little buggers, I noticed something. The singing will actually stop, or change depending on the amount of piranha plants that are still around. Just listen to this. So yeah, clearly this works. This claim is true, but personally I wasn't too surprised, as I noticed this myself in-game already. I mean, all of you know that I played through this game as soon as it came out. But hey, people wanted me to add it, so I did! Every time I go through the comments of a myth-busting video, I found more and more claims of interesting details that I had never seen in the game. And often these turn out to be true, but not always. And today we have another one to look at, because Meister I said, here's a fact, while using the drill mushroom and going under a Goomba, they will actually look down, but they won't be mad or something. Now, this was a bit of a bold claim, and would show that most enemies in the game are kind of stupid. They are aware of Mario, but they don't do anything. So, is this a fact at all? Well, after testing it, I gotta say, no. As you can see, the Goomba even saw me going underground, but as soon as I was completely under, he ignored me. Even when I went right under the Goomba, they really didn't care. So yeah, this claim is false. They won't notice you at all. Again, let's look at a small myth to see if it's true, because I know all of you like these quick ones. As we all know, Nintendo added a bunch of new enemies to the game, like the Hoppy Cat, an enemy that jumps when you do. But they aren't just seen in levels, but also in the overworld, for example in Shining Falls. However, do these jump when you do? Well, that's what Princess Peach Toadstool from the comments asked me. So I decided to try it. But when I jumped, the Hoppy Cats didn't seem to react at all. Sure, they were hopping, but not when I did. So yeah, they don't seem to respond to me. So I would say that this claim is wrong. Sometimes all of you lovely people in the comments will ask me to do things I ain't too great at. I mean, I'm not horrible at 2D Mario. I know quite a lot of people who are a lot worse, but I'm not some crazy speedrunner. And this next myth required some skill. Real Cover said that you can find 3 hidden 1-ups in Triple Threat Deluge, that you can access after the Wonder Flower by going across the top of the level. Now, I tried this and failed, because again, I ain't that good. So after a number of tries, I looked it up online, and I saw this person, Micro on YouTube, who was able to do it, and I saw it was a real thing, which is quite cool. If I remember correctly, this is something that was seen a lot in Super Mario Maker 2 levels, so it's clear that Nintendo learned from what their fans were making, which you can even see if you look at all their interviews, and I freaking love that. Now, this next one is another interesting suggestion involving this guy, and once again, this little thing. Because Awesome Ender asked me, what happens if you use a drill power-up to hide in the ground or ceiling while being chased by a shadow clone? Well, I had no idea what would happen. Maybe he can't find you, or maybe he grabs you out of the ground. So I decided to give it a try. I mean, I was already there after all, because I was testing another myth. Now, when I summoned this demon, he came right after me, but I went into the ground to hide. And surprisingly enough, he loses track of you and even has an animation of him looking around a bit confused. So yeah, you can hide from him, which I didn't expect at all. I thought he would get you regardless. But hey, this does show that the claim is true. In another myth, we saw that if you have water in your trunk when in elephant form, something fun will happen when you finish the level. But now we got another claim that's similar to that one that we need to test. Because Confident and Handsome said, if you eat something like a shell as Yoshi and keep it in your mouth as you complete the level, it won't disappear and he keeps it as he leaves. So I decided to do this, and I was curious if he would also have it in his mouth when he was outside the level. So I got myself a shell, jumped on the flagpole, and paid attention to what was going on. Although Yoshi doesn't look too happy, but as soon as you're out of the level, the shell is gone. So yeah, that's not a thing. But still, I find this a fun little detail. Now so far we've looked at one little level secret, but we are going to look at another one. And this one is in Raagh's in the ruins, because apparently something can be found here. Haya said that after the first checkpoint, you can drill into the ceiling and find a secret up there. But it does require some good platforming. He even said in brackets, it's very hard. So this was perfect for me! Not. But still, I tried it, and after many attempts, I just couldn't do it. There was this little gap that stopped me from going up there, and I had no clue how to get past it. So I went to the one place that could help, the internet. But when I was looking around, I couldn't really find anything. Sure, there are other secrets in the level, but nothing related to what the commenter was talking about. So yeah, as far as I can see, this claim is false. But if someone wants to prove me wrong, then please do, because in the end, I ain't perfect. Now in a previous video we tried to kill the shadow clones, and since we were already messing around with them in this video, I thought it would be fun if we tested another myth involving them. Once again we will try to kill it, but this time we will use the bubbles instead, because that's what Buying a Dumb Guy asked me. Well, I mean, not really, but he mentioned it could stun him. So I went into the level, grabbed the flower, and Shadow Mario appeared. So I started bombarding him with bubbles. Lots of bubbles. And yeah, it does stun him. Again, it's clear that this enemy is only vulnerable to ranged attacks. But then I wondered, can I kill him this way? Well, who knows? So I kept attacking it to see if anything would happen. Now, I did this for 5 minutes and 10 seconds straight. But he just wouldn't die. As far as I can see, it's just impossible. So yeah, the claim is true, however, you can't kill him this way, sadly enough. Now this next claim just sounded silly to me. When I read it, I was like, yeah, but this doesn't work, right? Because this person said that Nabbit can be killed by these door monsters that are normally seen in the ghost houses. Well, mostly seen in the ghost houses. Now when I read this, I didn't believe it. Because as far as I know, Yoshi and Nabbit are invincible. They can't take damage from enemies. I mean, that was the whole point. They are characters for less experienced players. They can only fall in pits or lava. But I tested it anyway. So I confronted this enemy as Nabbit. But when it attacked, nothing really happened. Nabbit didn't die or anything. So yeah, as expected, this didn't work. So I will say, this claim is false. Nabbit can't take damage whatsoever. Usually, when you grab a Wonder Flower, you are in for something weird. For example, being transported somewhere else, and usually you just go with the flow. I mean, it's hard, but that's also what makes this game so fun. However, someone asked me an interesting question. Super Plush Power said, can you burrow under the ground and avoid a bull rush? Well, I always hopped over them, so I never actually tried this. So I went into Bull Rush Express and attempted it. First, I did it with a single one, and here I could easily hide underground as it ran right over me. But then I thought, well, I gotta try it with the Stampede as well. So I grabbed the Wonder Flower and tried it again. Now, no matter the amount of bull rushers, I was able to hide underground and survive the whole ordeal. Although the Wonder effect did fade away when they passed. So you really have to jump on top of one for that. But still, this claim is true. The drill mushroom is amazing for a lot of things, as you can see. When you enter the desert world in the game, you will quickly encounter these guys. Weird mummy creatures that are pretty tough. The only way you can really defeat them is by unraveling them, because most other attacks don't do anything. However, according to this commenter, that isn't really true, because he claims it will die if you ground pound on it while having the drill mushroom power up. So I grabbed this power up, and did exactly what he said. And yeah, as you can see, it dies, while it's completely fine if I don't use the sharp drill. I even tried it on another one, and it once again worked. So yeah, this claim is true, which means that this enemy has more than one weakness. As some of you might know, the world map of this game has all kinds of little secrets, and one of those is Captain Toad. He is exploring the world and can be found all over the place, and when you find him, he will give you a bunch of flower coins. But a viewer in my comments claimed something interesting. Blue Spotted Tiger Shark said, Captain Toad will have different dialogue if you're Toadette. And in my opinion, this does make a lot of sense. Those two went through a lot during the Captain Toad games. I mean, they are even in a relationship. Well, as far as I know. So, does the captain have something special to say? Well, when I confronted him as Mario and then as Toadette, he had the same thing to say, so I didn't see a difference. Now, this wasn't the first time I talked to him though, but still, it should have worked, but clearly it didn't. So I would say that this claim is false. Now, in previous videos, we experimented with these things. The weird cake-like platforms that slowly shrink when you stand on them. And so far, we have noticed that they are a bit odd, and some things just don't make sense. And today, we will do some more testing with them. Because, like Fleetway asked me, can you drill in the cake scene in stages of World 2? Well, I equipped my drill mushroom badge and started testing. Now, when I found one of these platforms, I first tried to duck so I would go underground. But this didn't work, which wasn't a good sign. But still, I wanted to try one more thing, ground pounding. Because when you do this, you always go underground in this form. However, once again, it didn't work, even though I could use my power-ups everywhere else in this level. So yeah, this claim is false. This cake-like platform is just too strong, or maybe it's not possible because it's a living thing. It has eyes after all. Alright, I will get straight to the point for this next one. It's silly and didn't make much sense to me. Real Riggy claimed that you can use the drill power-up in lava. Now, when I heard this, I was very skeptical, because as far as I know, this never works. It instantly kills you no matter who you are or what power-up you use. But still, I tried it. And as expected, it went wrong. I touched the lava and instantly died. I even tried it twice, but each time I was unsuccessful. So yeah, this claim is false. Now, one thing I love about Super Mario Bros. Wonder is all the new interesting enemies. I mean, we haven't seen stuff like this in a long time, and especially the out of my ways are fun. Mostly because they remind me a lot of the bandits seen in the Yoshi's Island games. Now, the first time I encountered them, their moveset surprised me a lot, because when I tried to kill it with a shell, I was the one that took damage. But is there a way to get past their kicking defenses? Well, I wasn't sure, but one person in the comments had an idea. King B came up with the plan of throwing the shell into the air and making it land on the enemy instead of throwing it directly at him. And I thought that this was a pretty good idea. So I gave it a shot, and after some messing around, I was able to hit the out of my way from above. Now, as you can see, this actually works. Normally, he kicks any item you throw at him back at you, even if his back is turned. But death from above is something he just can't deal with. I even did it a second time, and again, the shell killed him. So this works, and it was the first time ever I was able to take out this enemy using a shell, which is pretty cool. Badges are cool. They can help a player, introduce special challenges, and even allow you to increase the difficulty. And so I'm a huge fan of them. I mean, heck, they are one of the best additions to a 2D Super Mario title in ages. But they can also break the game. I mean, we have already seen that with some of them. And someone in my comments said that the grappling vine can do this as well. Mr. Jackson Animated said, using this badge, you can climb a wall forever by spamming the R or jumping button and using the vine right after. So I went into a level and did exactly what this commenter said, and to my surprise, it works really well. I was able to climb this pretty high wall in seconds, and it took no effort whatsoever. I was mostly spamming buttons, and as far as I could see, there was no limit. I could theoretically scale any wall or cliff I could find in the game. So yeah, this person wasn't lying, and it shows how powerful these badges can be. Nintendo put a lot of effort into the little details of this game, much more than we saw in games like New Super Mario Bros. And a lot of you love to share these in the comments with me, so that I can check them out in these videos. For example, Bloody Foxy said, during the Metal Mario Wonder effect, if someone is electrified and then rides Yoshi, the green little guy also becomes electrified. Now, I wasn't sure if this was a thing. I mean, I can barely do co-op in this game, because most of my friends aren't massive 2D Mario fans. They like Super Mario Odyssey, for example, a lot more. But still, I grabbed 2 controllers and tried it myself. First, I let Mario jump into one of the electric beams, and due to this, he became electrified. And then when I jumped on Yoshi, I could see the effect move to him as well, which was shocking. And it also means that this claim is true, which isn't too surprising, because it's quite logical that this happens after all. When you're playing Super Mario Bros. Wonder, you sometimes run into pretty tough levels. I mean, the special world is a good example of this. But even the 4 and 5 star levels found in the normal world can be pretty tough for some people. But luckily enough, there are a couple of badges that can help. Like the safety bounce, which saves you from certain death. But when does this work and when does it not? That's what Lavender asked me. He wanted to know if this badge would still work when you were transformed into something else. So I equipped this specific badge and went into some of the levels where a Wonder Flower transforms you. First, I tried to use the badge as a Goomba, which didn't go too well, as you can see right here. So I gave it another shot, this time as a Wubba. And again, when I jumped into a pit, nothing happened, even though the badge worked when I did the exact same thing as Mario. So yeah, it's clear that this thing doesn't always work. And I gotta say, this was a really good suggestion, because I bet most of you had no idea what would happen here. Wiggler races can be quite tough. I mean, his legs might be short, but man oh man, he is pretty fast. And sometimes you have to beat him before you can even proceed. And while I never struggled with this, some others have. But apparently there's a way around this issue. Alex said that if you lose to Wiggler 2 or 3 times in the first 2 races, he will let you pass. So I went to the first race you encounter in the game and proceeded to lose 4 to 5 times in a row to see what would happen. And each time I didn't get a Wonder Flower and I was told I had to try harder. But then it happened. Prince Florian said that Wiggler lets us pass and that we can try again later. So what Alex claimed is actually true. When fighting foes in the Super Mario games, you often defeat them by jumping on top of them. It's a classic move of Mario and the others that works surprisingly well. However, it doesn't always work. And in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, we also encounter some enemies that can't be killed this way, like these mummies who you need to unravel. But someone in my comments mentioned something interesting about these creatures. This person said, you can unravel the mummy and leave it in the middle of unraveling. And so he walks around without a head, but he is still alive. Now, I had never tried this because normally I just kill them. So I gave it a shot to see if this little detail was true. And after slowly unraveling this creature, I could see that it is. Even when there is almost nothing left of the mummy, it will continue to do its thing, which is pretty nuts. But hey, it's undead after all, so it does make sense. And so, this claim is true. Now this next claim kind of confused me as soon as I tried to test it, because this viewer said, you can beat the Wonder effect in the level Missile Mag Mayhem while only touching one missile, the long one at the start. Now when I read this, I was like, sure, I will give it a shot. But when I tried it, I could see that this didn't make much sense. Here you can see me using the big rocket that was mentioned by the commenter. However, it doesn't take me to the end of the level at all. I was nowhere near the Wonder Seed that would end this event. I still had to walk, platform, and use more missiles to get there. And even now that I look back at the footage, I still see no way of doing this whole section with just one missile. So yeah, unless I messed this up somehow, I don't think this claim is true at all. Now this next myth is a fun small one that could be handy for all of you lovelies who want to 100% complete this game, because Henry said that you can hit the top of the flagpole if you use the high jump badge while standing on the flagpole stand. So I went into 2 different levels and tried it to see if this really works, and by the looks of it, the answer is yes. You can easily hit the top of the flagpole this way. It requires no skill at all. You just need to be a bit careful, because if you don't watch out, you will hit the flagpole at the bottom, which isn't great, but still, this claim is true. Here we go! We are going to look at another neat little detail that might be in the game, but I'm not sure, because I have never seen it. You know, the one in the desert where you mess around with switches and colors, which is pretty neat? But apparently there's something else that changes colors as well. The talking flowers that are seen in this level. They are either red or blue, but it depends on which switch is active. Well, that's what this commenter said at least. So I went into the level and tried it. And yeah, it freaking works. You can see them change color each time. Now, while this is a small thing, I do like it a lot. And I never really noticed this, even though I tested a couple of other myths here as well. Sometimes I come across myths where I instantly reject them, not because they are bad, but because I just do not believe them in the slightest. They are just too weird, silly, or unbelievable. However, I still test a lot of them because I can't judge something without at least giving it a shot. And so today we will try this. The commenter claimed that if Yoshi eats a dry bones enemy, he actually spits out 3 bones. Now this sounded crazy to me, and I didn't believe this person at all. So I went into a level where I could find these enemies and tried it. And to my surprise, it actually worked, which is crazy. And these bones can also harm enemies. As far as I know, this has never been seen in a Super Mario title. I mean, I'm not even sure if you can eat a dry bones in any of the games. So by the looks of it, this is the first time ever we have seen this. And I think it's very cool. Sure, in past titles, dry bones could throw bones, but we the players have never been able to do that. And yeah, this also means that this claim is true. I guess next time I need to be less skeptical, because I was clearly wrong here. One thing Nintendo clearly tried to do with this game is subvert expectations. Every time you think you get this game, it will surprise you again. One great example of this is seen with the flagpoles, because due to secret exits, you can skip them in some levels and use another one. But this isn't even the craziest thing. There are wonder effects where the flagpole is even destroyed. I was shocked the first time I saw that. But then someone asked me an interesting question. LinkFan said, can you finish a level on one of those destroyed flagpoles? One of them, for example, can be found in a Bull Rush level. Well, I had never attempted this, but today was the day I was gonna try it, I guess. So I gave my Switch a good old kick, booted up the game, and tried to use this flagpole a couple of times. Now I had to jump on it before it would break, otherwise I couldn't interact with it at all. But each time I tried this, I just couldn't really use it. So yeah, I don't think this works, and I tried this a couple of times. So sadly enough, this claim is false, I think. Alright, we will finish this video off with a short and sweet myth, because this person said, if you go to the world map in Paddle Isles and go down to the 3rd Wiggler race, there's a poplin there. Now if you talk to him, he will say he went fishing and found a bottle, and inside of it is a letter which tells you how many Goombas you have killed. When I read that, I was instantly curious. So I went there and tried to find this NPC, and I did. And yeah, he does actually tell you how many Goombas you killed. And if I remember correctly, this is handy at some point in the game during some sort of quiz. So it's cool to see that this is in the game. I mean, I had never even noticed this little fella. In the past, we have experimented a lot with the drill mushroom, and I can already tell you we will be talking about it once again in this video. And we are starting off with a claim that involves this power-up as well, because Tristan asked me, can you dig into the goo? Well, I thought this was a good question, so I went to a level where I could find this Nickelodeon slime to try it out. And as you can see, I can some sort of drill into the goo, but it clearly isn't the same as normal stone or dirt. In the end, you can see a similar effect when doing a normal ground pound, and you can't even drill in the stone found at the bottom of this slime block. So I would label this claim as plausible. Sure, it works, but nothing special happens. Now, very often, people leave fun small claims in the comment section, and many of these pique my interest, because usually I have never seen or heard of them. So I am compelled to boot up the game and find out if they are real. And Jax mentioned something that fit this category perfectly. He said, during the credits, if you break the pumpkins, talking flowers will come out of them. Now, I had never tested this, so I showed Bowser who is boss and broke the pumpkins to see if this claim is true. And as you can clearly see, Jax was right. There are talking flowers hidden inside all of them. So this claim is true. Usually when I play Super Mario games, I don't focus much on the story. I mean, as we all know, this is not the main focus. And Nintendo made this quite clear once again with Super Mario Bros. Wonder, because the story is simple and to the point. However, they did introduce some new characters, like the prince that joins you on this adventure. And according to this person from the comments, his hat changes color depending on the badge you use. Now, I had never paid attention to this, so I decided to equip a couple of different badges to see if it's true. As you can see, when I switch badges, his hat does change color depending on the color of the badge. Even when I die, you can see the different color hat. So it's a small design element that's seen throughout the entire game, which I never noticed. So yeah, this claim is true. In the past, we've tried to dig underneath the pipes seen in the many levels of Super Mario Bros. Wonder, but each time we ran into issues. For some reason, it just didn't work no matter what we did. However, now, someone has come up with a new way of achieving this goal. Bonbon said, if you have the drill power-up, you can go underneath pipes during the Wonder effect seen in the very first level, which was an interesting claim that could work. So, I gave it a shot, and as you can see, it does actually work. I was able to go underneath the pipe while it was moving around, but then I made the mistake of going above ground again. And as soon as I did this, I took damage due to the pipe crushing me again and again. And so I died. However, all of this does show that it works. You can go underneath the green pipe seen in the game as long as this Wonder effect is active, which is pretty neat. One reason why I love Nintendo so much is the fact that they always try to do new things with their games. And after making the same 2D Super Mario games for years, they finally did something new when Wonder came out, with the badges being one of my favorite new additions. And so far, we have done many experiments with them. For example, using the dolphin kick during certain Wonder effects. And today, we will be doing that again, because Derp asked me, does the dolphin badge work in the space part of Cosmic Hoppos? Well, I went into the level, grabbed the Wonder Flower, and tried to dolphin kick my way through space. But sadly enough, this just doesn't work. And I guess that's because you're floating and not swimming. And so the badge doesn't really activate. So this claim is false. Now, all Nintendo games are filled with small Easter eggs and little details, and we have looked at a number of them, and Cinnamon Roll has another one. He says that in Boo Mansion, when you get the Wonder Flower and King Boo starts singing, he will sing weird when you look at him. So I grabbed the flower, he appeared, and I decided to look at him to hear the difference. And there is one. He sounds off and distorted, but when I look away, he sings beautifully. Just listen to this. So clearly, this claim is true, although I bet that a lot of you have heard this before. Now, our last one was a small Easter egg, and this next one falls in the exact same category. Even Fox said that Spikeball Mario isn't 100% solid, because if you roll onto his nose, it will be squished flat. So I grabbed a Wonder Flower that would transform me into this, and tried to mess up his nose. Now, as you can see, it works. Nothing can get squished aside from his nose, which is a fun little detail, but that's about it. Sometimes you come across enemies in the game that will try to steal your stuff. Good examples of this are the raw bird or the mama. But are there any others that can do something like this as well? For example, Rita Jackson asked me, can the smackerel eat things? Well, I decided to do some experimenting. First, I tried coins. And as you can see, the enemy couldn't interact with them whatsoever. So I tried a power-up balloon. But once again, it didn't work. Although I did see that it could destroy the bubbles seen in the level. And at that point, I didn't really have anything left that I could test. and so far nothing worked. So I would say that the smackerel can't really eat anything in the game. Well, except Mario and the others, of course. In this video, we already looked at digging underneath pipes, and clearly it can be done in some instances. But then I saw someone else claim another way it could be achieved, although this person wasn't talking about the classic green pipes. The foolish Hexo claimed that you can go underneath the pipes seen in Swamp Pipe Crawl. You know, the ones that the shovas push around? Now, when I read this, I was surprised. I was convinced that this wouldn't work whatsoever. So I tried it, and to my surprise, it's possible. I was able to go underneath the pipe no problem. Sure, I couldn't surface as I would hit my head against the pipe again and again, but still, I was impressed. So yeah, there are two ways you can burrow underneath a pipe, even though I originally thought it was impossible altogether. Most Mario games have some basic physics, you know, gravity and elemental effects like snow melting due to heat. But is this a thing in Super Mario Bros. Wonder as well? That's what Jackfruit was wondering. He asked me if fireballs can melt snow or ice, and also if you can jump on water. Well, I had no idea, so I tried it. Now the first thing I attempted was melting ice and snow, and the best level for this is Out of My Way Valley. Here I went with a fire flower and I shot fireballs everywhere, but for some reason the snow and ice seen here didn't melt at all. Sure, the ice blocks found there broke, but it's not due to them melting. They kind of cracked and fell apart due to the sheer force of the fireball, which doesn't make much sense. And when I tried to jump on water, I also wasn't able to pull it off, even though I had seen multiple people claim that it was possible in the comment section. But even when I used special techniques like sprinting, crouching, and then jumping, I wasn't able to do it. So yeah, as far as I can see, both these things aren't real. Now this next one is rather simple, and it once again involves the cosmic hoppos we talked about before, because this commenter said that these hoppos will actually become really mad when you grab the Wonder Flower. So when I was there to test the Dolphin Kick claim, I paid close attention to the hoppos there when I activated the Wonder effect, and as you can see here, this hoppo looks incredibly mad. He is absolutely fuming, and I have no idea why. It's not like I did something wrong, but for some reason he acts like this, which is a bit odd. But hey, the commenter didn't lie. In a lot of the older Super Mario games, like Super Mario Bros. 2, certain characters have different powers. We saw this in many different games. Even when Yoshi got his own game, he got an extra ability known as the Flutter Jump. And Luigi, for example, was able to jump higher in some of the games. So, is this a thing in Super Mario Bros. Wonder as well? I mean, Yoshi can do the Flutter Jump, but what about Luigi? This is what Mystic Eevee asked me in the comments. So I went into a KO arena and jumped at the same spot as both Mario and Luigi so I could compare the two. And if you look at this side-by-side comparison, you can see there isn't really a difference. Both of them are the exact same. And this actually goes for all the characters in the game except Nabbit and the Yoshis. They are made for less experienced players after all, so they can't take damage, for example, and have some extra abilities. So yeah, Luigi can jump just as high as all the others. Now usually when you encounter a shova, you're in for a battle, but not a conventional one. It's a fight where you gotta push a pipe, and the strongest one wins. But sometimes when you don't have a power-up, for example, you're just not strong enough, and so if you don't watch out, you will get squished by him. And this could lead to a game over. But is there a way to avoid this by using the drill mushroom, for example? Because Rattle asked me, can you get squished by a shova pushing a pipe while you're underground? Well, I tried it, and the answer is no. As you can see, it doesn't hurt you at all, and the pipe goes right past you while the shova walks away because his job is done. So this way you can escape death. But I will say it isn't too useful, because if you have this power up, you can just win the push battle. So yeah, cool little detail, but nothing more. One thing that I sometimes long for in Super Mario Bros. Wonder is more ways to attack and deal damage to enemies. We only got 4 power-ups after all, which isn't much. Now, I mean, I get why there are so little. They had to spend loads of time on all those different wonder effects after all. However, I want more. But then I saw Real Riggy in the comments claim that you can grapple onto the falling Koopas with the grappling vine badge at the start of the final Uncharted area level. And this made me excited. Maybe it could be used to attack enemies. And so I went to that specific level to try it out. Now I will say I was a bit confused by what was mentioned in the comments, because I didn't see any falling Koopas in that level. So I thought he meant the flying Koopas. It could be autocorrect messing up after all. So I tried to use the grappling vine on them. But this didn't work at all. It just went through them. And so I would say that this claim is false. I even tried this on some other foes and saw that it didn't work on them either, which is quite disappointing. Post-production Wily here, I did actually see the fallen Koopas and tried to use the grappling vine on them. But as you can see, you don't really grab onto them, but the terrain. So it's still false. In a lot of the more modern 2D Super Mario games, you can save a power-up for later. And of course, this is a thing in Wonder as well. But there's one thing different. When you grab it, the power-up will now be inside of a balloon. Now, so far we've found out that this thing can't really be broken or eaten by enemies. But I saw a lot of people in the comments claim something else as well. Clifford, for example, said that it doesn't despawn. And I even saw someone say that it will even stay put when you exit the level. So I had to try this. What are the limits? Will it really stay there no matter what? Well, in order to find out, I went into the first level of the game and deployed the balloon. First, I ran through a good portion of the level and then went back to see if it was still there. And yeah, it was. So I decided to exit the level and re-enter to see if it would still be there. But no, it was back in my possession. In the end, it seems like it will remain where it is in a level, but as soon as you finish it or exit, the balloon will disappear, and the power-up goes back into your inventory. So I guess this claim is plausible? During the final boss fight of this game, you're in for quite a unique battle. It has a heavy music theme, which is rarely seen in the main series games. And one thing that Bowser does is send fiery musical notes at you that you have to dodge or you take damage. But is there another way? Because Centro Berry asked me, can Yoshi eat one of these musical note minions? Well, I had no idea. I mean, I never really play as Yoshi. So I went through the entire final level to confront Bowser to see if it was possible. Now, when I attempted to eat one of them, I could see that it didn't really work. But something else did happen. I saw that Yoshi was able to grab some of the fire and was able to shoot a fireball afterwards. Now, sadly enough, this wasn't too useful because you can't use these on Bowser or any of his minions. So it's cool, but that's about it. And in the end, this claim is false. In one of my previous videos, we looked at the Mama, an enemy that is kind of goofy but a lot of fun. It runs around like crazy and basically tries to eat anything it comes across. And after I tested whether it can eat the Wonder Flower, my comment section blew up with suggestions. Many of you wanted me to test all kinds of things involving the Mamas. I mean, I got comments like this one and this one. So I guess I had to test a bunch of stuff. So I booted up the game and tried some stuff in a KO arena where they were seen, as well as the Mama Mouthful level. First, I tried what Iron Thorn suggested. He asked me if this enemy can eat Yoshis. So I tried both one and two of them on top of each other. And I quickly saw that this didn't do much. Sure, the Yoshis were hurt, but that's kind of it. So I moved on to the next thing he suggested: coins. And as you can see, when he runs at me and encounters coins, he will eat them, no matter the type. But what about fireballs? Well, again, they will eat them and even spit them back at you just like they do with shells. But what about the power-up balloon? I mean, the Mama will eat any normal power-up he encounters, so does he eat that as well? Who knows? So I set up the balloon and lured the Mama to it. But as you can see, he runs right through it and doesn't eat it. I even tried this this multiple times. So clearly the mama can't eat everything. Sure, enemies, coins, and stuff like fireballs are fine, but not anything related to the player. Well, unless you're turned into a Goomba. Then you're screwed. When you go to fight Bowser, you will encounter these things, boost pads. They give you some extra power when you jump, and so you can jump higher. This is crucial in the final fight, because without it, you could never hit Bowser's head or his hands. But is this really true? Because this commenter said that you can beat Bowser without using the boosting pad platforms, which made me think, can you win the entire fight without using the boost pads? Well, I attempted it. I could see that hitting Bowser was quite easy. Using a badge, I was able to get high enough, but then when I tried to hit the hands, I saw that I couldn't destroy them. They were immune for some reason. So clearly, the boost pads are needed for some things. But what about the last segment of the fight? Well, here I was able to reach Bowser using the crouching high jump badge that I used before, and so I won, which clearly shows that this claim is true. In almost every Super Mario game, there's a ghost house that is filled with booze and all kinds of secrets. And Wonder has them as well. But someone in my comment section had an interesting question about the booze. Clumso Ninjo asked, can a boo see you if you're invisible? Well, who knows? If you use this special badge, all other enemies can't see you, so I assumed that was the case here as well. But still, I tried it. And yeah, as you can see, they can't see me at all. They will completely ignore you. Even when I go close to them or ground pound, they will do nothing. So clearly, this claim is true. Some of the badges that Nintendo added in this game are weird and a bit pointless, with the invisibility badge being a good example. And we have seen in previous videos that certain enemies will ignore you when you have it equipped. But then Pinguini asked me something. Will the Hoppy Cats jump when you are invisible? Well, who knows? And surprisingly enough, they won't copy you at all. So when you jump, they do nothing. And so it's clear to me that this is true, which again shows the weird powers of the invisibility badge. Alright, when you're invisible, most enemies will ignore you. But what about the scariest one out of all, Shadow Mario? Will this demonic figure leave you alone when you have this badge? Well, according to this commenter, he will. So I went there to test this claim, and I thought it would work because we have been able to fool him in the past. But as you can see, it's not very successful. Shadow Mario will come after you regardless. So for some reason, he can see me when I'm invisible, which is a bit disappointing. It works on everything else, but not here. But hey, I guess that would make the Wonder Flower effect a bit dull. Every time I talk about a game and bust myths in it, there's always a thing people become obsessed with. When I did Zelda Tears of the Kingdom videos, it was boomerangs. And now with Super Mario Bros. Wonder, it seems to be the drill mushroom. Everyone wants me to try and drill into stuff or under things. And today we will look at another one like this. 12 Little Lou asked me, can you drill underneath the pink fluffy platform seen in the level up and down with puffy lifts? Well, I had never tried this, and it could be possible, especially when you stand on the platform and it disappears. So I went there and first tried it when the platform was still there, but as you can see, I wasn't able to go underneath it. But this wasn't the only thing I could try. Another option I had was standing on it and waiting for it to disappear. At that point, I would burrow down and hope that it would rise again while I'm still underground. But when I attempted this, I could immediately see that it didn't work. The platform wouldn't reappear. So yeah, as far as I can see, this is not possible. You can't burrow underneath it. One of the weirdest ideas we saw in Super Mario Bros. Wonder has to be the talking flowers that are seen all over the place. They will constantly cheer you on, comment on the current situation, and even give you tips, which is a bit odd but also fun. And luckily enough, they didn't go with their original idea of adding full-on commentators to the game, because that would have been a bit much. However, is there a way to avoid them? Well, maybe. Crazy Koopa said that they will ignore you if you're underground, which can be achieved with the drill mushroom. So I went into a level to try it, and as you can see, it works. They will completely ignore me, but when I'm above ground, they will talk, which clearly shows that Crazy Koopa was right. Using Yoshi as a mount in Super Mario games has been a thing for a very long time, and many fans love it. Originally, Nintendo wanted to include it in earlier games, but couldn't, and so only much later in the 90s were they able to put it in Super Mario World. And of course, this whole concept returns in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, although it is a bit different now. I mean, Yoshi is a playable character, and this made someone in my comment section curious. Parker Rutt asked me, can Yoshi use the parachute cap when someone is on his back? Well, that's a good question. So I did some testing. First, I wanted to see if the person on Yoshi's back could use the parachute badge himself, and the answer to that is no. They will just jump off Yoshi. So with that question answered, I did what the commenter asked me, and as you can see, that does work. Yoshi could just use the cap while Mario is able to relax and enjoy the ride. So in the end, if someone plays as Yoshi, they can carry you through almost any level, no matter the challenge. Now in this video, we already talked about avoiding the chatter of the talking flowers, and now we will look at another way of achieving this goal. If the flower can't see you, they won't talk to you. So, does the invincibility badge work as well? Because Kirmosi Does YouTube claimed that they won't talk to you when you have it equipped. So I grabbed it and went into a level. And yeah, as you can see, they don't notice me, and so they won't talk. Even when I ground pound or jump around them, they don't do anything at all. So yeah, this claim is true. Now, this next claim required a bit of skill, and so I wasn't sure if I could pull it off. But hey, I still tried it. One of the best little details in Wonder is the fact that the credits are an actual level. Sure, there isn't much at stake, but it's quite fun. However, Christine wondered, does something happen when you get all the stars during the credits? Now you can get all of these by touching the names of all the people who were involved in making the game when they fly by. And while I had collected a lot of these before, I never got all of them. So I attempted it, and while I wasn't successful, someone else was. And so I could see that there is actually a small difference. The voice that is normally used for the talking flowers will say, well done. But that's kind of it. Aside from this small detail, there are no differences. You don't get any extra reward or anything, which is a bit disappointing. It would have been cool to get a small cosmetic thing, or something at least, but no. However, it does show that the claim is true. When I first booted up the game, I immediately saw that there are a lot of new enemies, and almost all of them are great. Like the Gnasher, who flies around and eats anything in sight. Well, I mean, almost anything, I assume. But can it eat one of those purple 10 coins? That's what trainer PMK was wondering about. And as we all know, I have to answer the question. So I went into a level where you can find a load of them to see if it's possible. At first, it was a bit hard to get one of them close enough to a purple 10 coin. And one of them that was quite close didn't even touch it. So I thought that they couldn't eat them. Until I lured another one towards it. And that one did eat the coin, which showed me that they can eat them. So it's a good thing that I tried it a couple of times before I gave up. Otherwise, we would have never known. So far, we've done a lot of experiments with the invisibility badge. I mean, I had never messed around with it before, so it was about time. And we have seen that it makes it almost impossible for almost anyone to see you. But is there an exception to the rule? Well, according to Dynasty Rex, if you're invisible, then the light found in Boo's mansion will make you visible again. So I went there, hit the switch, and jumped into the light. And as you can see, it does work. All of a sudden, you can see Mario. And when I jump out, he will disappear again. So yeah, this actually works. Now I'm not sure why, but I guess it's a fun little detail. Sadly enough though, it isn't really used in the game. Well, as far as I can remember. Now, while we are here in the house of many spookies, we can test another claim someone suggested. Golden Delta said that if you open one of those door enemies with the invisibility badge, it will have a special reaction. And when I read this, I didn't believe it at all. So I decided to try it because I thought it was impossible. So I jumped on this fake door and entered it. Now, I was prepared for something to happen, but no. The same thing that always happens happened again. In the end, nothing changed at all. So yeah, it was quite clear to me that this claim is false. Sometimes you come across certain enemies in a game that can't really be killed, or they are at least really hard to kill, and Shadow Mario is a good example, but we were able to defeat him in previous myth-busting videos. However, now Real Riggy wondered if there was another way. He wanted to know if Yoshi could eat him. Now, I didn't expect this to work, but still I wanted to attempt it, even though it could mean death. First, I went to the Wonder Flower as Mario and spawned Yoshi in with a second controller. And then, I tried to kill him. And as you can see, it does nothing at all. The tongue doesn't hurt, and he can't eat him at all. So yeah, this claim is false. Yoshi can't eat Shadow Mario. In one of the previous videos, we looked at a small mistake that can be found in the game. If you go to the level Secrets of Shava Mansion, you will encounter this thing, which needs to be pushed into this hole to unlock a secret. This is not some massive mystery. Most people will notice this right away, but we found out in a previous video that you can get stuck here. But after seeing that video, Scuffed wondered if you can get crushed by this block. I mean, that could help someone get out of this hellhole. So I decided to try it. So I jumped in the hole with a character, while another one pushed a block on top of him. And as expected, this resulted in the player dying, and so he could get out. But to be honest, this wasn't too surprising. I mean, you're getting crushed after all. So yeah, this claim is true. When you fight Bowser at the very end of the game, you will notice that he summons a lot of fiery piranha plant enemies that all try to damage you. And overall, the only way to deal with them is by dodging their attacks. But is there another way? Well, Jack said that you can kill the small ones by using the Bubble Flower power-up, which I had never seen or heard of before. So I went there all powered up and attacked any foe that came at me. And as you can see, it works. The bubble will capture them and they die. You even get coins for doing this. So yeah, this commenter is right. There is a way to beat these awful creatures that Bowser summons. Sometimes the badges you find in Super Mario Bros. Wonder are incredibly powerful and kind of break the game. I mean, we saw this with the grappling vine in a previous video, but now we need to look at another. Because this commenter said that you can use the Jet Run badge to infinitely climb any wall, although it is difficult apparently. Now, I didn't believe this. It felt like a myth that had to be busted. So I tried it in the Cosmic Hoppo level, because there are loads of walls to scale there. Now, when I tried it, I wasn't successful at all. No matter what I did, I couldn't get any higher. But I will admit, this commenter did mention that it was hard, and I'm not some master speedrunner of this game, but I just can't see how this claim is true. I couldn't even find a video of it online, so I would say that it's false. But if you have any proof of the opposite, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. In a lot of Super Mario games, you come across gigantic creatures that can't be killed at all. Well, that's what it seems like at least. Because sometimes you can get rid of them, or deal damage to them, or something else like that. And apparently, this can be done to the Wonder Dragon as well. Because this commenter said, if you ground pound on the Wonder Dragon's head, he will spit out a few bubble coins. When I read this, it instantly captured my attention. Maybe it could even deal damage to him and kill him. Who knows? So I tried it in the final level of the game, and as you can see, he does spit out coins, although getting those coins is a bit tough, and after doing it multiple times, the dragon seemed fine, so it doesn't look like you can damage him. But hey, at least the claim is true! In a previous video, we looked at what the limits are of the power-up balloons seen in the game, but in the end, I forgot about one thing according to people in the comments, because this commenter said, if you summon a power-up and then die, it will still be there for you to collect. Now, when I heard this, I was a bit skeptical, because you would imagine that it goes back into your inventory bubble, so I had to test this one. First, I got the flag so I would respawn there. Then I took out the balloon, and last but not least, I jumped down this pit. Now, to my surprise, when I spawned in again, the balloon was still there and I could just grab it. So yeah, this claim is actually true. The best thing about Wonder is the fact that Nintendo added so many new types of levels that weren't a thing in the older New Super Mario Bros. Titles, like the Wiggler races. I personally love those, but someone in the comments section had a question about the first race that I couldn't really answer. Charge Up Gaming said, in the first Wiggler race at the section where Wiggler turns around due to some sort of basket, will he just run through if you break it before he arrives? Well, I had never attempted this. I mean, I never really broke that thing. Instead, I parkoured around it just like Wiggler does. So I got a drill mushroom, equipped the jet run badge, and tried it. And as you can see, when the obstacle is gone, Wiggler will just run through. Clearly, he is more flexible than most would think. He isn't some rigid bot that will just follow a set script, which is fascinating to say the least. Like I mentioned about 2 videos ago, people always become obsessed with one thing when it comes to these myth-busting videos. And this time, it's the drill mushroom. So of course, we have another claim involving it to cover in this video. Real Riggy said, you can drill into the boost pads seen in the final boss fight of the game. But, knowing this game, I was certain that that wasn't gonna work. So I grabbed the drill mushroom and tried it. And yeah, as you can see, this didn't work at all. The floor is too hard to drill into, which you can actually see in some other places as well. So yeah, Riggy, this claim is false. Another thing that people are fascinated by is the credits of this game, which I kind of get. I mean, it is an actual level, which is almost never the case in a Super Mario game. But now people are asking questions and making claims. For example, Lauren said that you can actually die in the credits. But as far as I know, that's just impossible. So I went there and did my best to get killed. I was crushed by enemies, ran into foes to take damage, and so much more. And while I did lose stars due to it, I never died or lost my Super Mushroom power-up. So yeah, as far as I can see, this claim is just false. Another myth, another drill mushroom claim. You know how it goes, folks. Everyone wants to know what the limits are of this power-up. This time, Kenny asked me if he can kill a bull rush with a drill mushroom. So I gave it a shot. And to my surprise, if you go underneath it and surface, the attack will instantly kill the bull rush, even though it is quite a tough enemy. So yeah, Kenny, you can actually do that. Which shows the true might of this little mushroom. In past videos, I showed that Yoshi can do almost anything, even when somebody is on his back. And today we will look at another thing because French Fry Potato said that Yoshi can even dolphin kick with another player on his back. So I set up a second controller, went into a level, and attempted to do this. And as you can see, it works. Without a problem, Yoshi can dolphin kick around, while Mario does nothing. Although I did notice that the person on the back couldn't do much. Mario couldn't throw fireballs during it. So sadly enough, that is impossible. Nintendo loves to make enemies that are important for the platforming scene in the games. In older titles, they did this a ton, and now it's also a thing in Wonder. A good example is the Bloom, but Kimberly claimed that when this enemy is inflating, you can't deflate it. So I went to a level where you can encounter them and jumped on top to see if this was true. And as you can see, it's a thing. But then I tried something different. What would happen if I jumped into them from below? Well, at first, absolutely nothing. But then I saw that they sometimes explode. So you can kill them in this fragile state. So I guess I would label this claim as plausible, because you can kill them. In older 2D Mario games, you had all kinds of crazy abilities, and over time, Mario lost a lot of these. We saw this in the 3D titles as well, until Super Mario Odyssey changed it all. But how is the situation in Wonder? Because this commenter asked me, can you break the flip blocks using the spin jump in this game? Well, I tried it, and as you can see, it's not a thing in this title, even though it was in Super Mario World. So clearly you don't have as many options as in the past, which means that this one is false. Now this next one is quite simple and straightforward. It's a small detail found in one of the worlds, because according to this person, the music on the ground and on the castle of the map is different in the sun-baked desert. So I recorded me standing on the sand and on the steps of the castle section of this world. And if you listen closely, you can hear the difference. So yeah, this claim is true, and personally, I never noticed this. Now this next question I got from the comments was a really good one. It allowed me to do some really fun experimenting. Kippa Yo-Yo asked me, can Yoshi eat the acorns that get faster when deflected by a character with the elephant power-up? And if he can, are the ones that he spits out the exact same in terms of color and speed? Well, this is a really good question. Normally, when this enemy known as the Skedaddler shoots nuts at you, you can deflect them when you're in the elephant form. And if you do this, the enemy will start shooting darker nuts that go faster and faster. So yeah, what happens? Well, I created this setup. As you can see, I can hit the nuts, but if I do nothing, they will reach Yoshi in the back, allowing him to eat them. And as you can see, Yoshi shoots the exact same ones back. And if you don't watch out, you can even damage your friends. Although it's not an insta-kill. Personally, I think this is pretty neat. And they must be amazing when taking on certain enemies. Badges are quite overpowered. You can really cheat with them. They make levels easier or allow you to go for a new approach. Heck, some even make the game a lot harder. That's what the expert badges are mostly for. And so we experimented with them a lot. And Aaron claimed that you can climb walls using the parachute badge. All you have to do is wall jump, pull out the cap, and go towards the wall again. This way you can climb higher and higher. Which sounded a bit convoluted, but hey, I tried it anyway. And as you can see, it does work. Sure, it's not very fast, but he never claimed that. So it's true. If you ever want to scale a wall, this is the way. But personally, I think using the grappling vine is a better approach. It's a whole lot faster after all. Now, Wonder is famous for a lot of things, but one that stands out is the musical levels, because man oh man, those are popular. I mean, I look into data like that to decide what videos to make, and a lot of people are searching for that stuff. But apparently you can also prevent it from happening in a level. Well, sort of. Because Dylan claimed that if you stand on the pipes that the singing piranha plants come out of, they won't appear at all. So I stood on one after grabbing the Wonder Flower to see what would happen. And as you can see, the piranha plant never came out of the pipe. Personally, I expected it to still pop out and just damage you. I mean, that's what happens in older Super Mario titles with the piranha plants. So, Dylan's claim is true. We have seen Yoshi eat a lot of things in these videos, and sometimes you don't even expect it to work. And so a lot of people want me to experiment with his eating ability. And today this commenter asked me, can Yoshi eat the power-up balloon? I mean, we have seen that he can eat stuff like the bubble flower, so what about this thing? Well, I attempted to do it, and no, it's not possible. The tongue just goes right through it. So yeah, it doesn't work sadly enough, which makes sense, because man oh man, you could annoy the hell out of your friends if you could. Just steal the power-up right before their eyes and spit it out into a pit. That way, no one will have it. But luckily enough, that isn't possible. Now this next myth is not really new. We have actually tested it before, but due to popular demand, we are going to look at it again. A lot of people claim that you can actually jump on water, and apparently I just did it wrong in a previous video. So I decided to try it again, after perfecting my technique. The trick is to crouch when you jump, and jump as soon as you hit the water. Now I was able to do it, but I still struggled with it, and failed 9 out of 10 times. And even when it worked, it wasn't super useful. In the end, the short from Infinite Bits was really handy for pulling it off, and the footage you're looking at right now is from him. So special thanks to Infinite Bits. And yeah, I was wrong about this stuff. It is possible. Usually when you go through a level, it's Mario and his friends that kill enemies they encounter. But can some enemies kill other enemies? Because Bloody Fox asked me, can an Armad kill a Pokey by itself? Because normally you can throw them at foes to take them out. But what happens when this enemy jumps into someone? Well, I got one of them, set it up in such a way that it would jump at me, but it would hit the Pokey instead. And as you can see, it does actually deal damage. So you can set it up in such a way that they kill each other, which is pretty cool. It was always a thing in games like Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but apparently you can do it in Super Mario as well. One of my favorite expert badges in the game is the jet run, because it can be really handy in some levels. But not every time. You're quite fast and always run, no matter what, which can be difficult to deal with. However, it also has some weird powers. For example, if you run off an edge, you will walk in the air for a bit. But according to Life is Handle and, you can run on water using this badge. However, I had never seen this. So I went into a level and tried to run on water. But no matter what I did, I couldn't pull it off. He would just run into the water at full force. So yeah, as far as I can see, this isn't possible. Even though I tried it with multiple bodies of water. So yeah, I would say that this claim is false. It could be that people confused it with the ability of being able to run in the air for a bit when you run off an edge. In some instances, it could make it look like you're running on water, but in reality, you aren't. Now I hope you enjoyed this ultimate compilation. Be sure to subscribe, like, and check out my other videos, because it really helps. And if you have any suggestions, leave them down below in the comments.